All right.
I'm ready to go.
We are good.
All right. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Good to see you, man.
What's going on?
Life is good.
Sam Gulotta, ladies and gentlemen.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. This is my first one with me solo.
So, do you have a name for what you're going to be calling
I don't
this
have
podcast?
I don't have a name for this one yet, but I'll have one.
Right.
By the end of the weekend.
Yeah.
It's Saturday right now, so
Do you have any ideas for it?
I got some ideas, but I don't know how good they are. So
Okay.
I don't know. I'm really bad with naming stuff. I'm not good. So it's really hard. I don't get a lot of help from Haley. I don't get a ton of help from her, so it's a little bit tough.
Right on.
I'll get it though. And then this will be up on Spotify, iTunes, and if I release the video, YouTube.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I've been thinking about a lot is like you can create one piece of content and spread it over all sorts of different places.
Well, and what's really nice, podcasts are awesome because you can say you're not like there's no limit. You know what I mean? Like you can, if it's going to be like, you can say what you want. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Right. Like if somebody doesn't like it, like they don't have to listen to it. It's not like some of these, like some people when they're doing stuff like they can't say certain things if they're like sponsored by somebody or or if somebody else is I don't know how to say it, like directing or writing their like show for them or whatever it is.
Sure.
So right. I don't know. It's just it's a nice way to get whatever you want out there if you're gonna start one about whatever.
I think, and it seems to be the trend is that more and more people are consuming more content that is from individuals just doing their own thing instead of corporate.
Well, it's tough.
Like we were just talking about where we're getting our news. Like I get very little of my news from watching, big media outlets. I really don't. Very seldom do I watch, videos on from, I get all my news from YouTube for the most part.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's not from CNN or MSNBC or Fox or whatever else. I see those videos sometimes, but
you can't because they're so one way and one so the other way. There's no there's no middle. One is super right, and then one is super left. And all the people on the left are like all the people on the right are idiots, and all the people on the right are saying and it's like.
Yeah, and this whole dichotomy doesn't do anyone any.
We're not getting anywhere here.
Exactly. I
mean, politically right now, I guess I don't follow a lot of I don't follow it like crazy.
Right.
But politics is just right. There's nothing. There's. I feel like there's just really not a lot of progress.
There isn't.
And like I said, I'm not like a. I'm not like a big, so I didn't vote when it was Hillary. I didn't vote in the last election with Hillary and Trump. You know what I mean? I didn't go out and vote.
Basically didn't because I voted third party.
Well, actually, we may have went out, but I may have voted independent. I may have, but I didn't vote for those two.
Right. Same.
And look, I don't support Trump, but there is some good that he has done. There is some. I'm not saying there's a ton, but there is some. And so the Democrats, like what they're doing right now, like, okay, they're going through it, but they've been trying to impeach him and finding stuff on him for 4 years. And it's hard for me because I'm going, all that tax money, like you could be putting money back into the state that you are a leader in, I mean, that's a big deal. I get like they're looking at him saying he's messing shit up, which, like I said, I don't follow politics like to a T, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of stuff that a lot of presidents have done. And I think, Trump, he gets a bad rap because I think some of it has to do with the way he acts. Mm-hmm. I think some of it has to do with the way he deals with things. Mm-hmm. When I go back to Obama and I think about Obama, I wasn't a big fan of Obama, but he spoke real well. So he was very good at speaking. I mean, he was very good at bringing the people in.
Much more eloquent than Trump.
And I think that even when Obama did stuff that wasn't good, like spying on the people, nobody got mad. Nobody got mad about it.
using drones to kill more people than any other administration, basically.
Like nobody got mad about it.
Like,
but when Trump says something small, people do get mad. Not that I'm by any means a Trump supporter, because I'm not necessarily a Trump supporter.
So exactly. So, people are dynamic. I hate trying to put people into, and it's human nature to do so, to like look at someone and make a judgment about that person. Because for survival, that makes things easier. You don't have to think as much about things if you just instantly make a judgment about something.
People are judgy.
So you take a small amount of information and you make a judgment about someone, and then that's your decision, and then you just have a bias towards the decision you already made, and then you just search for information to confirm your bias.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. And CNN is very biased, and Fox is very they're so biased against each other. It's crazy.
And so it takes a lot of effort to step back and, just you can say, all right, yeah, there is good things that, Trump does. There's good things that Obama did.
Right.
These people are dynamic. Every human is the same.
Yeah.
I think if you approach things that, for the most part, most people are well-intentioned and have at least the intention of doing something that they are proud of doing.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I could completely agree with that.
Then you can pick out good in a lot of people, but when it comes to impeachment, for the Democrats, yes, there was efforts to and talk about impeachment for a very long time. And there are a lot of reasons for that, obviously. But when it comes to now this impeachment inquiry, I mean, for the Democrats, it really it's not politically savvy to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I honestly feel like it's came down to more of a moral. No, I think it's a moral decision. And, maybe I'm too optimistic about, the people in office, but I feel like it was, we have a system set up with checks and balances.
Yeah.
This is one of the checks. Mm-hmm. And really, so far, there have not been any consequences for anything that Trump does. He doesn't care about when he's subpoenaed or, he doesn't, he just ignores the rules, essentially, for a lot of things. And so there aren't any consequences for anything that he does.
I mean, look,
this is the only consequence that we can even try to do, and it's not going to work because the Senate's not going to convict him.
It's not going to work.
But it's like, if you don't do it, when you see like something happen where there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, this is a crime occurred. This has been then it's like, well, we have to do it. Even though it doesn't really nothing's gonna come of it.
Well,
I think it doesn't even help us.
I think for me, I think that's why I think it bothers me like that, because it's like when you look at it, and even these political leaders, like, they're smart, they know what they're doing, and even when they look at it, I feel like in their mind they're going, oh, this isn't gonna work, but there's still money being spent on doing this. But look, love or hate Trump, okay? Love or hate Trump. The dude's fucking hilarious. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But the shit that he says, like, you can love him or hate him, but you can't deny that when that guy gets on Twitter and just roasts Roseanne, or what's her name? Not Roseanne, but oh God, I can't remember her fucking name.
Yeah, I can't either.
But when he,
I know what you're talking about.
He's the only president that you can literally make fun of to his face, and he just dishes it right back. Like, when he was running for president and he was up in the debates and he was just talking shit about all the other candidates, they're all like, whoa, we've never had this before. What the fuck's going on? They didn't even know what to say.
Right.
They didn't know what to say. They're like, look, I mean, yeah, love or hate the guy, pretty fucking hilarious. But yeah, I'm a middle man. I sit in the middle. I've always sat in the middle. Obviously, on certain issues, I mean, I might lean more one way or more the other, but for the most part, I'm in the middle. I just
Well, and see, I don't even like to think of it as the middle, because that's the thing. There are problems and there are ways to solve those problems. There's issues and solutions. That is all that matters. It doesn't matter what the ideology behind those decisions comes from.
Yeah.
You can't, if you can assign some sort of, whether it's left leaning, right leaning, it doesn't matter. It's like, is this going to solve a problem? And what are the consequences of us doing this action?
Yeah, and sometimes I don't think
that
about
literally all that matters.
I feel like sometimes they're just
real world.
They're just making decisions, and they're just like, well, we're going to make this decision. And sometimes I feel like they don't think about what's going to come from it. It's just like, oh, we're going to make a decision.
That's been such a big issue throughout every administration is that.
Well, I mean, look at Bush.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Bush was.
What are the consequences? You're going to make this decision. What's the plan for after making this decision?
I mean, Bush just was like, this is what we're going to do, and he just did it.
Right.
And it was terrible. I mean, he was horrible. I mean, I wasn't a fan of Obama, but let's not. I mean, Bush was terrible. But see,
right.
and so like I told you off podcast, obviously I was talking about Tulsi Gabbard. I think her name is Tulsi Gabbard. I don't want to butcher her last name.
Yeah.
Now she's running for the Democratic nominee, and she says if she doesn't get it, she won't run independent.
Right.
Which, I mean, I get why she's not going to run independent. So she said she's not going to run independent because what will happen is, and it makes sense, if she runs independent, it will actually pull votes away from the Democrats.
Yeah.
So, so she won't do it.
I don't think any of the Democratic nominees would run independent. Right. I mean, that would be.
Well, because it would pull votes away from the Democrats.
People would.
Which would but the
be so angry at them
but it sucks because if she does get it, I mean, I would seriously think about voting for her because I like what she says. She talks about the troops being overseas. She talks about all these wars, and she's like, "Look, we're just going to war. We're not even sitting back going, what's going to happen after we like you're saying, what are the consequences of us sending 100,000 troops in there?"
Right.
And she goes, and I get it that these people need help rebuilding, but they gotta help themselves too.
Right.
Like there has to be a balance, man.
And I love what I heard her the other day talking about how, I mean, we're doing, whether our intention is to do something good when we go there, but we end up doing more. We're not successful.
Yeah.
We haven't been successful.
No.
And we're doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
So I think she was asked, should we still be the, whether or not we should be like the police of the world.
Yeah, because that's essentially what we are.
Yeah. And it's like, well, yeah, we can still try to fulfill that role, but we have to do it in an effective way. And so far, we haven't been being effective at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think in certain instances, like, okay, we were effective in this mission, or we were effective in this mission. But I feel like there's a.
But if your goal is to help, that country and its people.
Yeah, but you have to be
find democracy or whatever the goal is. In every situation, the people have been worse off every time we've gone there.
I love the fact she's a veteran. I mean, for me, I'm like, oh, that's really, and it's weird. So I've always I'm one of those gun-toting. I mean, I'm not gun-toting. I shouldn't use that terminology. I don't run around and like with my gun in the air and flags on my car.
But you're very supportive of owning guns.
I am supportive of owning firearms. I'm supportive of the Second Amendment because a lot of people don't really understand what even the Second Amendment means and what it's about. So I'm really supportive of that. But I don't lean, like, I'm not like, I don't know. It's different. It's I always say middle because there's either a right and a left now. That's just the way it is with people, and I just want to. Whoever's smarter, whoever's gonna, whoever is who I'm in my brain. I'm going, well, that's a smart decision.
Right.
I think so. That's a smart
this
decision.
is why. So early beginning of the year, March, April. I think it was Joe Rogan's podcast. He did an interview with Andrew Yang.
Oh, I didn't even see that. I should go back and watch that one.
You definitely should. From there, because I was looking at all the different candidates on the Democratic side, and I was a big Bernie supporter in 2016. And coming into it, I was like probably gonna support him, but wasn't sure. And once I saw him, he has the smartest ideas.
Yeah.
And his campaign slogan is not left, not right, but forward.
Well, and that's good, and like not to like take like Joe Rogan, like he says it perfect. Like, why do we even have one man as president?
Right.
Like when you think about it, like really, what the fuck? Like, why do we have one person? Why is there this one guy? And
it's really only because he's commander in chief. It's really for foreign wars. It's because we have to be able to make really fast decisions when it comes to war. But when it comes to domestic policy, exactly, we don't need one person making decisions.
No, and that's the thing. It's like, and I get it. People say, well, he can't just make the decision and call it the end. And I understand there's certain levels, but it's really, after I heard him say that, it's like, you really sit down and think, but you go, well, why do we got one guy? There's this one guy,
and slowly he's been getting more and more power. I mean, or the presidency itself has been getting more and more power.
Yeah, over years, it's just like
from what it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, look, and I always go, I'm like, look at what Obama did. I'm sorry, like people liked him and loved him, but he spied on us, dude. I mean, it was real. It really happened. Not that it was just him. I mean, it started towards the end of the Bush administration. If you listen to Snowden, if you actually listen to what he said, it's not like it was just the Obama. I mean, it started at the end of the Bush administration, but Obama was the one who executed it. Okay, there's a difference between it happening just during the Bush, but
it's the
being
same with
executed.
Tax policy. Bush did a bunch of tax cuts for the very wealthy.
Oh, okay.
And during Obama's administration, those tax cuts had basically they weren't permanent.
Did he take them away?
And he made 97% of them permanent.
Obama did.
Obama made those taxes permanent,
which is bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
he could have not let that happen.
Yeah,
and ended up taxing the wealthy more. Because Bush came in and cut those taxes significantly, and then it was set to I don't know exactly how it works, but from what I understand, it was Obama who made those permanent.
Yeah, I mean, in this like I was talking to Haley about it. I was telling her like, look, man, there's if you take Illinois for instance, Illinois is going to be legalizing marijuana, cannabis. Coming here after the first of the year, and it's good. But see, for anybody who knows Illinois, so Illinois is going bankrupt. Like that's a big. So they've raised their taxes.
People are moving out of Illinois.
Right.
Crazy. I spend most of my week. I spend like 6 days a week in Illinois selling solar panels all around northern Illinois. And,
I mean it's.
I talk to a lot of people, and anyone who's moving. More than half of anyone who is planning on moving from their current house is planning on moving out of Illinois.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Bad.
So they're in like this bankrupt stage, and so it's not even that they wanted to. They have to. I mean, legalizing
they have
cannabis
to get more taxes.
So they've already raised their taxes. Okay, and now they're legalizing cannabis. So now they'll tax that, but. It's funny because when you think about someone who's really wealthy, say they make $500 million a year, they make $1 million a year, whatever. And if they have to pay, if you make $1 million a year and you pay 30 grand, well, 30, that's nothing really. Right. I mean, really in the whole scheme of things, that's nothing. But now if you take someone who say like Haley, GM of Culver's, I'm not gonna say what she makes, but makes say I don't know, 60 grand a year, and she's got to put in 20 to 22%.
Right.
But and it's hard because the rich don't. It's all the small business and middle class that make America, and that's the truth. I mean, these big $500 million companies, they don't pay anything in taxes. Look at Amazon. I love Amazon, right? I love it. I order a lot of shit. But they didn't pay taxes for 2 years. They haven't paid
taxes in decades. Yeah. I mean, it's been like years and years.
Okay. I thought it was only 2 years. So I mean, you're talking
they had maybe 2 or 3 years in the last 15 years that they've paid anything in tax.
Yeah, and you're talking federal tax. No, they haven't paid nothing. There's just no money. It's
zero.
It's like what the what? Yeah. But yet
this is why Andrew Yang talks about implementing a value-added tax. So, because right now in the U.S., all of our taxation, whether it's corporate tax, when it comes to corporations, it's based on income.
Okay.
So the corporate tax rate, it was at 35%. Trump brought it down to 21%.
Fucking Trump.
So that was the biggest. That's the biggest thing Trump has done in his presidency is been able to. He had all three. First, he came in there. He had all the majority and everything basically, and got that passed.
Yeah. Okay. So he brought it down to 20, and this is just for corporate tax.
Corporate tax.
Okay.
But that is based on the income of the companies.
Okay.
Which a company can, swindle their way out of paying a tax on income by, investing their money elsewhere.
There's a lot of ways around it.
Tons of ways. Stock buybacks, like there's all sorts of ways. And because now this is a global economy, they can say they made the profits in this country where there is no corporate tax rate or very low one. Like a lot of corporations will, basically make a ton of profit out of Ireland because Ireland has like 12% corporate tax rate. So that's all based on income, which is avoidable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A value-added tax, which a lot of European countries have, a lot of other countries have figured this out, is instead of taxing the income that a company makes, tax every time there is an exchange of value. It's almost like a sales tax.
Okay.
But it's not for the end. Not just for the end consumer, but for any time a business, because say a business buys something from a warehouse.
Yeah.
Put a tax in the middle of that transaction. Anytime that there's a transaction,
okay,
tax that transaction.
So what about is this company? So I own obviously a company. So for me, it's like, okay, now because I've never heard of this, does that, at the end of the year, I mean, are you still paying your federal tax, or is there no federal tax? It's just the value added tax.
That would be ideal, I think. But no, I mean, this would be adding a tax, but prices, because it's a consumption tax is what it is. So you raise your end prices. It's like a sales tax. People pay more for products and services, but there are plenty of business-to-business companies that don't see an end consumer that are still going to be paying these taxes.
I could see it.
Because think about it this way. Our whole economy is based on consumption. And right now, we're not taxing consumption at all.
Yeah. I think, so like me, obviously, owning a business, when I think about, if I think about them adding a tax on me for every time I, make a purchase when I'm buying product to sell, and then I'm also paying state and federal tax and sales tax. And look, nobody's ever going to agree on everything. I would disagree with that. Not completely to the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But if there was, I think him saying, "Oh, we'll add a value tax," it's not 100% worked out how we would run it. But I think adding,
it is, because it's already been done in a lot of other countries. So it's like modeled out how that actually be implemented.
Like I think if he came in, me just being and owning a business, I think if he came in and said, "Hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to lower your federal tax. I mean, you still got to pay federal tax, but we're going to lower that down. But now you're going to have to pay this value added tax." I think, and I feel like I would speak for not all businesses, but I think I speak for maybe the higher majority. I think then it would be like, okay, but if if you're coming in and saying, look, this is what we're going to do, we're going to add the value tax, and then you're also still going to have to pay your sales, state, and federal tax on top of that at the same rate.
There has to be a way to compensate for the drastic difference between a small or medium business compared to these large corporations.
See, and that's because the thing. These large companies, I agree with you. It's
that's the solution to taxing Amazon.
Yeah, like I agree with you on that.
But
these big businesses,
it has to be for small business owners. Right. There has to be some sort of balance there.
And I should have clarified that when I said it, because I'm a small business, I'm not making $1 million a year. So for someone
you don't have a team of 25 lawyers and
it's just me
accountants,
so it's like when I think about it, I think, oh man,
avoid your taxes.
Yeah, I was like, if there's a tax now, I'm like, oh shit, there's another that's going to hurt me. But these big companies, no, I agree. These big companies, and look, I mean, even so I don't have lawyers, but I know I know ways around. There's ways around even with me. So I own a company, but I'm taxed as an S corporation. Mm-hmm. So I actually employ myself.
Sure.
So like if I go get a loan, it's not that, I own a company. I get paychecks regularly from the business that I own. I'm employed by my own company.
Sure.
So what happens is it's you basically, you give yourself a dividend, because when you get your dividends from the company, they're not taxed. Okay, so there's ways around paying less federal tax.
Right.
So I mean, I paid less federal tax last year because of the way that I did it, and it's unfortunate, but I will admit it, I did, because they're saying, look, you need to pay this much, and I'm like, well, shit, that's a lot.
Right.
I think for a big business, it's a drop in the bucket, but I think for someone like me, I step back and I'm like, Jesus.
Right.
This tax for this is like, oh my God, like I got to pay sales tax, state tax, and this federal tax. And this is a lot because I'm a small business. And I think that's where there's no focus. So there's no focus on the small business. But they're lowering
like
taxes
you said,
for big
like,
business.
Small business is what builds the country.
Yeah. You tell me what big businesses have really done a lot than the mom and pop
They
shop.
are a tax on our, because think about Amazon, think about our roads being used by these companies.
Yeah,
all our infrastructure being used by these companies.
That's a good way to think about it.
They're benefiting from all the money that we're spending on our taxes to pay for these things.
I mean, look, I buy a lot of shit from Amazon,
but they're not paying anything.
But they need, like, that dude. Listen, they made a lot of money last year, and they didn't pay one dime.
No.
And I understand, like, I get it. It's like, but what are you contributing? I'm still buying from you. It's not like you're contributing. Like, I haven't seen any. What are your is your contribution that you've built an Amazon distribution center? Because that's not good enough.
Right.
Like, that's not good enough of a contribution. Sure, you employed 15,000 people in that city, but still, what about the rest of the cities? Like, what about the rest of the states?
Right. And this is why, what the system that we're currently in, it's not an efficient system of distributing resources. It's just not. It funnels resources to the top, and then those resources get, hoarded.
Yeah, I mean, there's some craziness when it like I don't know. I mean, if you're a fan of her, I'm not, but AOC, I can't pronounce her name correctly ever. So
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah, I just don't say it. I just use the abbreviation like everybody else. She's a little. I think that her intention when she talked about the cars, she talked about everybody having electric cars, and I'm like, okay, that's good, because so I'm currently I want to buy a Model S Tesla.
Hell yeah.
Ludicrous edition but it's like 108,000. So I'm working towards that. And it's for a lot of reasons. Like for number one, I mean, it's good on the environment. I mean, but listen, people can take what they want from gas cars, but listen, having a vehicle that doesn't take gas is obviously better. Sure, maybe gas isn't giving it as much emissions as what they say.
But
it's
superior in almost every way.
Well, it is, and there's so many different safety features with it, and I think the car is much better off being on the road. But she talks about, well, everybody's going to have an electric car, and it's like, well, that's far. I mean, you've pushed real far now by saying I think it was like 2030. She said that everyone would have to have an electric car in this deal that she wrote up, that new Green Deal.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read all about it. I don't know everything in it. There were certain parts that I had heard, and I thought that would never happen. I mean, you're talking, unless you had an electric car that was like a $10,000 car and you were going to finance everybody, like, I mean, that's a crazy thing to, but I'm all for like electric cars, like electric cars.
Well, and they perform better too. I mean, there's so many things that are better for electric compared to, literally, you can accelerate faster. You can.
Well, it's instant. Yeah, it's instant torque.
It's instant.
Yeah,
and
you're gonna stop.
You
faster.
have such less maintenance.
There is. It's so much. Like you don't have to go to a gas pump. You're not changing your oil. You're not putting transmission fluid in it. I mean,
people. It's so crazy to me. I'll follow the Tesla stock, and it's just like, people will, freak out about something small about the company, and like the stock price will tank for like, or not tank, but it'll significantly go down. People don't understand the value proposition of a Tesla.
Yeah,
they're still comparing it to like other automakers.
You can't.
And Tesla is a software company, and and electric vehicles are far superior than.
Yes.
Buying a Tesla or an electric vehicle will pay for itself
real quick
in the lower costs of gas and maintenance.
We pay $1,200 a year in gas in our Honda Civic.
Right.
I mean, it's $1,200
exactly,
and that doesn't
huge.
that doesn't include. I mean, we get free oil changes because we have Honda Care, but that would be
Right.
if we didn't, it would be
Right.
$80 an oil change, and the savings that you're gonna get,
and then it's gonna get even better.
Oh,
because at least with Tesla, it's gonna get crazy good. Like any Tesla you own is gonna turn into a moneymaker.
well, I just
Because
think
what's gonna happen is autopilot,
oh yeah,
autonomous driving.
yeah.
It's going to be, I don't know how many years we have, but
I don't think far away.
But in the next couple of years, 2 or 3 maybe.
Yeah.
Because really it's just about regulations now. The technology is already there. Once we get to a certain point with that, and you can autonomously just have your car,
Yeah.
come pick you up and
Right.
drive you. You don't have to do anything.
Right. Super convenient.
Then you can. This is plans with Tesla is that they plan on they're gonna just roll out an update with the app where you can say, I'm gonna put my car on basically Uber mode.
See,
It's gonna, I'm not using my car right now, I'm at work for 8 hours. I'm
Oh,
gonna have
Jesus.
my car go out and pick people up and ride and give them rides, and then my car is gonna make me money while I'm at work,
wow,
and then it'll come pick me back up.
that's intense.
And your car will pay for itself in like a year
That's intense.
in the profits you're making from your.
That's intense. That soundproofing's gonna fall. It's fun. They don't like to stick. Yeah. No.
So-
They had he released that truck.
Right.
Well, which it's a little ugly.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna lie. The design I think could have been a little better, but it's
all utility. It's like what is a truck? Well, I mean, for a lot of people, there's the people buy trucks just because they want to.
Well, yeah.
Have the
he
ego of it's just something they want.
He did it.
But
he did it for the actual
utility.
Yes.
It's completely priority number one with that vehicle was utility.
Yeah, and it's
functional.
And it's
functionality and strength.
Oh yeah, like
performance. The design doesn't matter.
I know that the window test didn't go as planned
Right.
during the thing, but I mean, come on, it's like a rough draft, okay?
Right.
Relax.
Right.
And then I know they hit it. It didn't dent,
Yeah.
didn't
And
scratch. It's got self-inflating
if you look
tires.
at it too,
it's
right.
It's crazy.
And if you look at it too, there are no curves.
Yeah.
So every single piece of that car is flat metal,
Yep.
which is so much easier to build.
It's easier to build, and
So
I
that's
feel like
why they can offer it for $40,000.
Maybe it's more aerodynamic. I'm not like an expert by any means in vehicles, but I know the base model was $39,900, and then the most expensive one was $79,900.
Right.
Which is even $79,000 is still not even a bad price for a truck.
And the only reason they can do that is because the production is going to be so much easier when you don't have to.
Yeah. Well, it can haul 14,000
metal
pounds, I guess. I guess it can haul 14,000 pounds. It beat
It's a
out.
monster.
And then the back end of it, when you bring the tailgate down, it has a ramp that you can bring out, and but everything,
Right.
it's very much self-serving. As you know what I mean? Like the tires self-inflate. It might be ugly, but let me tell you something. I think you pay $100. I think to reserve it. I think it's coming out in 2022, and then obviously, then it's like, hey, 39. You can give us the money, whatever model you chose. But I think it's only $100. I think to reserve the truck.
Yeah.
But what's crazy about Tesla? This is what I like about Tesla. So there's no Tesla deal. There's no Tesla dealerships. You might go
on
to
your phone. It takes you 3 minutes. You go on your phone and you order a car.
Yeah. Well, I think what I like about it is it's what I like is how he said, we're not going to open up Tesla dealerships. We might have a Tesla building with a showroom that you can come in and sit in the cars. We're not going to have salesmen. Okay. We're not going to fucking do that.
Right. They don't advertise. They don't have salesmen.
No, we're classy. Okay.
Yeah.
We're classy.
Exactly.
Okay. This is the way we're going to do it. We're classy.
The product sells itself.
Yeah. And cause I talk to people like, oh God, you're going to get one of those. And I'm like, it's practical.
Yeah.
It's so fast. The Model S, the ludicrous edition, is like goes 0 to 60 in like 2.2 seconds.
Like what?
It's faster. It's faster than the fastest Porsche, dude. The fastest Porsche goes 211 miles an hour, and this thing from 0 to 60 is faster. Like when you, it's
ridiculous.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Tesla, Elon Musk is a fucking, I don't know, that guy.
He is my idol. But, at the same time, like, people don't realize that he sacrifices so much.
Oh yeah, he was on the Joe Rogan
is,
podcast, and he talked about like
it's like,
you know, you don't want to be him.
You don't.
he's like you don't want to be me.
You don't.
He's like everything.
He's like a soldier on the front lines.
Yeah.
Like he's not like he's doing the hard work every single day.
Yeah.
Like he works 100 hours a week every week. Like
well,
and doesn't take breaks. Like,
what I like about him is he's just. I love that there's no. It's just there's Tesla and there's really nothing else. There's not $100,000 commercials. There's not commercials during Super Bowl. There's not him getting on social media. I mean, he's on social media, but I'm saying there's not him like. It's different.
Yeah.
It's more of a I want to just work. Like I want to create something that's good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, see, and I like that.
And I mean, this guy, he's revolutionized like 3 different industries. He created PayPal.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He created PayPal.
Jesus, I didn't know that.
Not just him himself, but he was basically, it was X.com. That was his first business out of college.
Okay. I didn't know that.
And then X.com turned into PayPal.
Oh.
And then got bought by eBay.
I think eBay owns it now, I think.
Or bought by eBay, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And then so he used that money to start, was it Tesla or SpaceX that he started first?
I'm not sure.
He used the money that he got from, I mean, he had millions of dollars from selling PayPal.
That's interesting. I didn't know that he was one of the people that started that, you know.
Yeah.
That's weird. And
so then, I mean, SpaceX, a whole nother revolutionary. I mean, nobody reusable rockets. It's completely changed. It's like compared to what we were doing, like for once we got ourselves to the moon.
Yeah.
We were doing for the last 60 years. It's like the equivalent of going on an airplane.
Yep.
Flying a 747 to Australia and then just throwing that plane in the ocean.
Yeah.
Just throwing it away.
Yeah. We built something.
You spend months and months and months building something,
billions of dollars, and then
you just throw it away.
Yeah, you just toss it away. And what's funny, you know, what really kills me, right? Everybody's like, we're the strongest country. We're so smart, and I love America. I really do. I'm fucking all about, you know, supporting my country. But you're telling me that over all these years, we never sat back and were like, let's try to make a rocket that we can reuse.
Right.
That didn't cross. Even all these automakers, when I think of Tesla, the Model 3 is only like $40,000, $43,000 for a Model 3. Right. And it's, I mean, it's not as fast it can't go quite as far as the Model S, but I think you get like 300 miles to a full charge. Well, I mean, that's basically a full tank of gas.
Exactly.
You know, and it's like nobody. It's like then you have all these why is no other automaker? Why is nobody stepping in this? Why is nobody sitting back going, you know what? And what it is because they don't want to take any money away from any big execs.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to. The big exec goes, well, if we try to make an electric car, maybe my pay goes down a little bit.
Right.
We don't want that. See, in Elon, everybody's like, oh, he's so rich, but in assets maybe. But when it comes down to money in his pocket, all his money. Look at what he's building.
Yeah, he was almost almost bankrupt in 2008.
I was gonna say I heard something about that, but I didn't know what year it was.
Because he had Tesla and he had SpaceX, and Tesla was struggling. Well, SpaceX also. Both of them were struggling to do what they wanted to do with them. Yeah, and he had to make the choice of he had like I think it was like $100 or $200 million.
Which when you're looking at something like that, it's not a lot of money.
Not a lot, but I think it was Tesla. Their payroll was coming up, and like was going to go bankrupt, and he had to make the choice of either like for sure having success with one company. Yeah. By taking all of his money and putting it into one company, or at least like 80% of his money. Yeah. Or just using all of his personal money to invest in Tesla and SpaceX and like going broke to keep both companies afloat.
Yeah, got to go broke.
And he did. Yeah.
Yeah, got to
He
go
went broke.
Yeah.
He powered through. And I think he literally like didn't have a house for a bit. He was living with a friend. Like he was completely broke.
Yeah.
Completely stretched to nothingness.
I don't think a lot of people realize, like, even, I mean, I own a small business. I don't make $1 million a year with the company I have, but you, even with just little, I mean, you put everything in. I don't think a lot of people realize what it takes to like actually execute like in a business.
Right.
It's hard, even big companies, like, because not every company is Amazon. Okay. Like not every company is Amazon. Not every, so, I don't know. I don't think people really understand like the execution that it takes and the money that it takes to do certain things. People are like, well, why can't you well, it's like, well, okay.
Right.
Like, what do you mean? Why can't I do it? Like, I got to be able to execute it. And like, I've already put everything into it. Like
Exactly.
Because I think everybody looks at Amazon. When they look at a company, like look at Amazon, they go, well, they're just making so much money. Well, they are. And Amazon's, I think, the exception of a business when it comes to like looking at a company and thinking about sacrifice. Not that they didn't make sacrifices, but I mean, when I look at it now, I'm like, it's, beyond large.
Yeah. And, I wish people would take more from and learn more from how Amazon got so big, because they focus on long-term goals. They're when they're planning or meeting and strategizing, they're focused on what they're doing 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Not what they're doing this next quarter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you gotta have a plan. You gotta have a plan on like, well, what's gonna happen? And I've done that with the hemp. It's like, I'm going, okay, well, what's 2020 look like? Is it,
right.
And people don't have a business. They're like, well, you can't project the future. You can't really project the future. No,
but you can invest into something that's going to pay off.
Right. I mean,
much later where you don't see the short-term benefit of it.
Yeah.
But it's going to, in the long run, you're playing the long game.
Well, and I'm always telling, like, I do a podcast with another guy, and he does music and makes beats and stuff. And I always tell him, look, dude, everybody wants everything to happen overnight. This is a really big thing when it comes to business. Somebody starts something, and then 24 hours or a week later, they go, well, I haven't really made that much money. Yeah. So it sounds weird, but I'm a slow guy. I like really slow. I like to be slow. I like to move in very slowly. I don't like to rush. I don't want to make $1 million in a week.
Right.
Type of thing. I want to go real slow, because a lot of times when you go real fast and you jump in, it's real hard. It's really, really hard to continue to be successful.
Yeah.
The majority of people who are millionaires overnight, or they've made $1 million in a week from their business, the majority don't stay in business. They fail because they don't know what to do. Like they don't know. They're like, how do I handle it?
I've seen this in my industry in solar. So
yeah,
like solar companies have gone bankrupt. I mean, they were started, most solar companies were started like roughly 10 years ago.
Okay.
And at like 5 years in, this is why Tesla absorbed Solar City.
Okay.
Is because Solar City was basically bankrupt. I mean,
and that was a big was that a big, I don't know who they are. Was that like was that a big solar company?
Yeah, so they were number one for a while.
Okay.
This is actually cousins of Elon Musk that started this company.
Oh, okay.
They got real big, and then but not sustainably. They grew way too fast. And they were pricing themselves like with solar. I mean, you go too fast, you do too much, and things kind of like there's a lot of variables that you have to keep, moving around. And if you sign contracts that are at a certain price, and because the way solar works for most part, people are just paying for the power at a rate.
Okay.
For that power. And if you set that rate too low, assuming, because you're getting this money over the course of 20 years, and people price themselves out of the market. Several solar companies have gone completely bankrupt. And because it's not sustainable. If they went too fast, too quickly.
Going too fast is not. I like a slow run. If you just, you got a little jog, don't sprint, man. Because a lot of times when you sprint, it's not good. It's usually bad because you don't know how to handle it. You're just
right.
you've created this massive amount of success in 1 month, and you're like, wow, how do I sustain this now? You don't know how to sustain it because it was so large.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't even get a chance to slowly grow to where as you're slowly growing, you're able to go, okay, I know, because everything is slowly happening, so you understand how to keep on sustaining it. You understand how to keep on building it.
Right.
But when you just boom, you're just freaking successful and huge in 30 days or whatever. You're like, how do I continue to make this kind of success every month? How does that happen? And people don't know. And then a lot of times people get that amount of money and then they think, oh, my company's huge. And then they really ruin it. Instead of getting that kind of money and then slowly taking that money and just slowly building their company, to whereas you got super successful, but now you're just going to slowly build it for the next, 5 years. And a lot of businesses, like people, a lot of times when people start a business too, they don't realize you don't really make any money. I mean, you're talking usually 3 years. I would say 3 years is a good number.
Right.
Usually at like year 3, you might see some profits from it. I was like at 5 years, 5 years is like a good number. At year 5, you're making profit, you're doing good. Year 4, maybe you made a little bit, but usually in the first 3 years, it's first year's usually debt. Second year, you're probably still in debt. Third year, you're breaking even. Fourth year, you're bringing in a little bit of profit. And the fifth year is really where you say, okay, we've come out of our shell.
Right.
We're out of our shell.
Right.
We're good to go. We're completely where
all the revenue you're making has to be used for other things.
Right.
It's not. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't get it. A lot of people are like, well, I'm not making any money.
Budget for $100,000 salary isn't feasible.
Yeah. And that's
not how.
Well, that's what people are just like, well, I've been in it for a year. Haven't really made enough money. I think I'm just gonna call it. And I'm like, why? But you literally 12 months. Like that's not very long. Like I've been in the hemp industry for a year, and I'll admit I'm a little. It's done really well actually for the year that I've been in it.
Right.
I've done good. I haven't made I'm not at that point, but I'm not in a bad spot. Like I'll see profit in like year 3. If I decided, I want to stay in this business, if it's something I love, I feel like year 3 is where I would start to see the company take off, which is sooner than what I would normally. I always say 5-year plan. That's just what I say.
Sure.
And it may even be next year. I don't know.
Right.
And that's just because the industry exploded. That's really the only reason why. But if it wasn't exploding the way it was, it would again be a slow run to the finish line.
Right.
But people don't, like I did a website for someone who does clothing, and I asked him, I said, how's it going? He said, I haven't sold that much. I don't know. And I'm like, dude, it's slow, man. It's just it's a slow run. It's not like a sprint.
Not the industry to get in right now. Yeah.
Well, it's sad. I mean, it's a saturated industry.
Way too.
I mean,
because it's too easy.
I mean, it's hard. It's super saturated. Hemp is difficult. That's not. I don't. A lot of people are like, oh, it's such a good industry. It's okay. Mm-hmm. It's not. Listen, it's not as great as what everybody thinks it is. I think everybody's like really thinks it's so awesome, and they jumped on this crazy bandwagon.
Yeah. Well, and man, I wish I didn't care about like the rules or I wasn't as moral as I am, I guess, because I mean we had talked a year and a half ago about Amazon and gummies on Amazon.
Yeah.
And like I saw that when before I was thinking about it when it was tiny.
Well, I know you had some made
super tiny,
and you didn't jump on it.
And I didn't jump on it because these people were like branding it as CBD, but it was just hemp seed.
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't actually effective. There was no.
It was just hemp seed oil.
Yeah, because the hemp seed oil, I mean, it's good.
And it's like the people were selling gummies and saying they were like 100 milligrams in a gummy.
Yeah.
And whatever, like this, it's just a bunch of lies.
Yeah, it's 100%.
It was a bunch of lies.
Yes.
And I saw I saw how the opportunity there.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to like I didn't want to be a liar.
Oh, that's funny.
Because you can't sell CBD on
You
Amazon.
can't, and you still can.
Still can't.
And it's not even you can't do a
So-
lot when you're in the hemp industry.
Yeah. And so, I should have just jumped on it anyways, but
Yeah,
because now I look at it now, and I mean, these people who just basically put the largest number of milligrams on the label.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Are selling thousands and thousands of bottles every month.
Yes. Yeah, they're selling a whole bunch.
It's selling like crazy.
And I thought about it.
And
so I thought about putting my gummy, but I don't want to. I don't want to have to put a label on my bottle that says they're hemp gummies when they're not. Like I don't want to do that to me because my stuff is, it is CBD, so I don't want to do that. But yeah, I mean the industry, it's really good. But a lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna start a hemp company, and I'm like, you know what, if you so happen to choose to want to do that, it's not like listen, man, the banks are still real tough. I own a holdings company. So, and
I thought, didn't that help out when it was like the farm bill that got passed
the
or something?
farm
and
bill
then that opened up something.
The farm bill got passed in 2018 and it did help. And then hemp, CBD. So CBD wasn't federally legal actually.
Right.
And then now it's federally legal.
Will credit cards still now?
Yeah. So it's still hard.
Or credit companies or whatever.
It's still super difficult. Still, it didn't really help that much. I mean, there is some banks that will allow you, but so like I bank through Chase. So I own a holdings corporation, because I'm a designer as well, so you know what I mean. And then the podcasting, so there's different stuff. But I'm a nutraceutical company. I'm not actually a CBD company.
Sure.
I'm nutraceutical, vitamins, lotions, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to have a high risk credit card processing company, so I get charged more than normal. I had to have credit checks, and I mean it was like buying a house just to process credit cards. And then what happens is sometimes, when I first started doing it, my credit cards were being processed overseas, and then the money get funneled back into the United States, back into my bank. It was a real mess.
Right.
Now they're being processed in the U.S., but it's still the way it's processed when it gets back to my bank. It's a very difficult process.
Gotcha.
I mean, I've had to leave. I don't know how many credit card processing companies, because you start it, you're involved in them, and then they go, oh nope, you're gonna get, and then like, we can't process your card anymore. So then you move to a different one. It's not as easy as what everybody thinks it is. And I do all my stuff online, so I don't have anything in stores. I don't sell sell it in person. I don't do any of that. It's all online, and it's hard. It is very, very difficult, because what happened was when CBD became a big thing. What happens is you get big companies, and what they do is they go, we don't even know the industry, but we have a ton of money.
Right.
Let's make a business. And then what happens is, so the CBD is really ran by a few huge companies, and you got to compete with them, even if you're a small guy.
Interesting.
And one of the big companies is HempWorks. Like it is, because they have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of affiliates. Their product they don't have bad product. It really isn't bad. I don't agree with their multi-level marketing of it, but you know what? They're like a $300 million company.
Wow.
And then you have Medterra, which is a huge company. They have buildings overseas. You know what I mean? There's just these huge companies in the industry, and they kind of, it's the same with any industry. You're in the industry, but there's these few companies, and they're kind of the people, and you can't compete with them, so you have to try to compete with all the little guys, which is difficult. That's not easy to do.
Right.
That is a hard thing to do.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean it's not easy. It's difficult, but yeah, people like to just rush. Everybody who's rushy. Everything, man, everything. It's so crazy. Like I was just talking to a friend of mine, and he said that Rock County, which is like Janesville, just the Rock County area, is like the fattest county in Wisconsin. They have the highest obesity rate.
Wow.
Higher than Dane County, higher than Milwaukee County. And I'm like, that's like, what the shit? And if you literally walk around, and look, if someone is bigger and they're happy with it, that's fine, but it's unhealthy. It's an unhealthy lifestyle choice.
Of course. Yeah.
And it's the same thing. So Milwaukee, You know, like Milwaukee has what, probably 700,000 people that
Yeah.
live in the city, I would say.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's like a couple million if you take in like, you know, the suburbs and everything, but
okay, yeah, because when I was a kid, like
the
Milwaukee,
greater Milwaukee area is like a
Okay.
couple million, but yeah, city of Milwaukee is like 600,000-700,000.
so like I just read a thing that said that 60% has an STD. 60% of Milwaukee has an STD. Like, and if and I can't remember if they were just talking about Milwaukee County or Milwaukee itself. So if anybody looks it up, you know, but if they're talking about Milwaukee,
crazy
yeah, you're talking about that. If there's 700,000 people, 60% of 700,000 has an STD. That's a lot. It's I don't know. When I think about, I don't know, I think about a lot of stuff all the time, and I'm just like, Jesus, this is like the world we live in is just fucking.
Yeah.
It is. There's a lot of problems, man.
There's a lot of problems.
We have
definitely.
too many fast food places. I mean, I eat a lot of Culver's, not gonna lie, but I eat a little, a lot. I eat so little meals, but I eat a lot of them throughout the day. So my body's burning off the calories because it's so little. You know, so I don't. You know, I work out every day.
Yeah.
So like I'm not.
Right.
You know, I'm also working out and stuff, but I don't eat McDonald's. I haven't ate McDonald's in like 10 years.
Same.
I mean, I've ate their fries, but their actual food I have not. I have not ate. I don't eat Burger King. Haven't ate Taco Bell. I don't even really like any of those places.
Right.
They shouldn't even be in business because they're the ones, like all these fast food places, creating.
Exactly.
There's a lot of big people.
It's just garbage.
Like we went out,
garbage in
it
your
is.
body.
We went out on Black Friday, and we didn't go out during the thick of it. We went out like at like 7, you know, and you just look at people and you're just like, it's rough. And it's like, you know, I'm not all about looks, you know, like, okay, you should look a certain way, but like, present yourself a little bit. Like they're just wearing dirty pajama pants with dirty socks and sandals. And you're like, what is, I mean, Jesus, like there has to be some kind of a self. Like when you looked in the mirror and you left that house, you had to think to yourself, like, what, you know, I mean, yeah, you might not care what other people think, but have some self-dignity, like even just yourself.
Just for yourself, right?
It's bad. Rock County's a little, not very.
Yeah. Man, I gotta say, like, I'm very, very happy that I got out of Janesville and got out of and you know, being in Milwaukee. Now I spend most of the time in Chicago, but I mean, I'm very happy to be, you know, somewhere where, I mean, everywhere has its downsides.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere's gonna have up and down, but
the culture and just, you know, people are, I would say, generally proud to be like to be living in Milwaukee. Like,
yeah,
they're proud of their city, and like everyone seemed to just not be proud of Janesville and not be proud, like they were excited or happy to be, you know, part of or at least a lot less.
I'm not the biggest fan. We own the recycling company for 5 years here, and the city tried to shut us down at any chance they had. Any chance they could, they try to shut us down. I'm absolutely not a fan of Janesville, but you know, her job is here, and so it's kind of like, you know, and it's a real good job, so it's kind of like, well, we can't up and go, but I probably wouldn't if I chose to move. I don't know if I'd move to Milwaukee, but I'd probably move closer to Madison, if not maybe like you know, on the outskirts of Madison or something, because
for sure
Janesville, for they don't support really small business very well. They don't really support business that great. They don't take care of, I mean, I don't want to say they don't take care of the city, but the downtown could be so great, and they just don't. Right. It's like they don't give a shit about it. I don't know, and I'm sure there's people, if they listen to this and they, you know, they're like, oh, well, they don't because of this or that. It's like, look, I don't know, you know, all the crazy statistics of Rock County and the city, but I'm not the biggest fan of James. I've never been. I'm not the biggest fan of Wisconsin.
Exactly.
In general,
and
but
I mean, I don't mean to hate on Janesville in particular either, because it's really, I feel like it's more so just these, you know, it's mid-sized towns, and it's not quite like rural America, but like it's just like, if it's like suburbs, and if the suburbs were all just one city, I mean, that's kind of what Janesville. It's like it's just everything's sort of just, you know, you don't get any. It's not big enough to get people who can start something and start a business here that is niche. Like it's like only large corporate companies can come in here because it's not quite big enough for if you start something that's niche, you just don't have enough clientele for it.
That's actually really that's a super intelligent way to explain it. That's a really good way to look at it. Yeah.
I don't think it's just Janesville. I think it's like that mentality, or that, you know, it's like the commercialization of an entire area. That's
a great way to look at it. That's like exactly how it is, because there's been small businesses that start downtown, but they don't succeed because it's a niche market, and there's not, you know, and Janesville's tough. Like I used to do screen printing, and it's like everybody was like, oh, well, I don't want to pay. The other thing with Janesville is what they pay. It becomes that's another big issue. It's like, you know, I'd be like, well, look, I can print the shirts. It costs $15 a shirt, you know, because you're doing, well, we only want to pay $7. And it's like, well, yeah, but then, but there's no money. If you paid $7, I would have to put my own money into it, like to make your shirts. I would in turn be paying for a majority of your shirts. And they go, well, we don't want to pay that much. And I think that's another problem too. And you notice it when you're around Rock County in Janesville, is that people are very much like, if you have a product and it's like you've built it, like say you build tables and you're like, oh, I'm going to, you know, charge $300 a table because I put my time into it. I put love and effort, and it, you know, it cost me $200 to build, and I'm only going to make $100 in profit. And it's really not even $100 in profit because you still got your time that's involved.
Right.
And they go, well, we only want to pay $50. And you're like, right, but if you look at the table, it's craftsmanship. Right. And they're like, nah, we'll just go to Shopco. And you're like, but it's not the same thing. That's another problem with Janesville. And there's been a few shops, I think, that were like in downtown, and they were like niche, and it was like homemade stuff. And they were there for maybe 6 months. And then they were like, we're just eating away at our own money. Because everybody would go in there and they would look and they'd go, oh, I don't want to pay $300. And I get it. I understand that not everybody can afford $300, but you have to look at, like, it's like the quality of it, you know, how long is it going to last? Like, did they built it themselves by hand? There's just a lot. It's a unique product.
This brings me back to Andrew Yang.
Okay. Yeah, I saw a picture. I saw you took. I saw you went to one of his things in Iowa.
Oh yeah. I'm 100% Yang gang.
Yang gang. That's pretty funny.
Yep. The freedom dividend, the universal basic income.
Oh,
$1,000 a month.
So he likes that, huh?
$1,000 a month for everyone over the age of 18. And it seems ridiculous. It seems insane.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wouldn't work. People are getting money for free for doing nothing. I mean, there's 100 things you can say about it. I've dove into it. I've gone, watched, you know, so many videos, read so much. It's a damn good idea. And one of the reasons would be for this is because you're putting what's population of Janesville's what, like 60,000?
Well, I think their signs say 63, but that, I think it was like last updated like 10 years ago.
Right.
So I would say
I'd
say like maybe 75 or something.
Consensus
maybe
is going to be next year, but I mean, well, I probably don't even have to, but
maybe 70. I don't know.
So $60 million a month coming into Janesville.
By paying $1,000, by paying everyone $1,000, you're saying that would be $1 million.
That'd be $60 million a month in money flowing into Janesville specifically.
Yeah, but that money has to come from somewhere.
And it does.
That's the thing.
It's paid for.
Well, it's gonna come from. I think with
value-added tax is one.
I think. Well, okay, if it comes from value-added, sure you have that. But and then I think it comes, you know, and then if it's coming out, so I mean, you know, for me, I don't know. When I look at it, I think, okay, I think there's maybe, sure, you could see a benefit side to say, well, somebody's getting money, they're going to take that money, spend it, put it back into their community. The other side of it is, if it comes out of my pocket, then I'm not for it. Like I'm not for more. Like just say more. Let's say more tax, right? Let's say if the taxes gets raised.
So there's the question about, and that's you when it comes to value added tax and small businesses. There's a question of how much is it going to impact someone on a small business. But for individual consumers,
but even
for individual consumers, a consumption or value added tax would increase the price of products and services. So it's like it increases the cost of goods.
Right. Yeah.
So that's more expensive, but they have to be in unison. So universal basic income and the VAT together. So you're spending more, but you're getting $1,000 every month. So maybe it costs you 10% more for what you're buying, but it's getting paid for already. And because right now there's no way we could pay for anything we want to do if Amazon and all these corporations aren't paying anything in taxes.
Yeah,
we can fund so much from just getting a tax, getting tax revenue from the massive wealth that's being created in our country.
I mean, I believe that they should be taxed. Like I'm all for big companies being taxed. I think obviously I didn't even know about the value added tax. You know what I mean? So like I'm going to say what I'm going to say, but that's just by me in my brain.
Just processing.
Processing it. I'd have to actually do research.
Right.
Like really. But I think when it comes to value added tax, I don't know if a really big thing for me is, and this comes down to the same as like raising a minimum wage, for instance. A lot of people go, we want to raise it to 15 an hour. Right. There's a problem with that. A lot of people don't understand the issue with it.
Yeah.
I own a company, so raising the minimum wage should be raised. It's only $7.75 or $7.25 still. It's 2019. It should be raised. Maybe $10 an hour.
Yeah.
I think that's a very reasonable price to get it raised to. But I think the value added tax in a way is similar to that because for instance, let's just say I'm a business. I make $10 million a year. My company makes $10 million a year. Let's say now I have this value added tax put on me where now I have to raise the price of my end product because I do have a value added tax. What happens is I have to raise the price of my end product. Well, by raising the price of my end product, let's just say maybe I don't get, and I get what you're saying. You're like, well, now they're giving $1,000 back. So they're going to be able to pay that end price because you're raising it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we're giving you $1,000, you're raising the end price, but they're going to be able to afford to buy that now because there's an extra $1,000 in their pocket. But I feel like you may lose, I feel like companies may get hurt. I mean, they may lose employees from it because because the cost is more. There's a lot of things, and like I said, I'd have to to look into it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be like, oh, I completely disagree or I completely agree because it's for me, it's like, well,
there's nuance.
Yeah, I don't want to say, oh, it's dumb or it's not a good idea because I haven't looked at it. Like I haven't looked at the research from it to actually see how the whole thing breaks down.
Right.
But I'm just processing it in my own head, like thinking about it, going, okay, if you did it, say it was this much, and then you got, but I feel like it's in a way a little bit like raising minimum wage, just saying we're going to jump it to 15 an hour. Right. And by jumping it to 15 an hour, you have to raise the price of your end product.
Now there's, because cities have done this, like Seattle raised their minimum wage to $15.
Yeah,
and now there's stuff coming out about small businesses that are hurting.
Yeah, because it does.
And also entry level jobs, or like if you owned a cafe, and someone coming out of high school, or someone in high school still, they're getting
completely
that minimum wage.
Untrained, right.
Completely don't know what they're doing. You could still hire that person because it's not that expensive to hire that person.
Right.
Now, if you raise the minimum wage to $15, you have to hire somebody that is worth $15.
Absolutely.
So now you don't have the position, or you don't have the ability to offer that high schooler a job anymore. Right. You have to give it to someone who's a little bit more skilled,
right,
and knows what they're doing.
Right, and it hurts. That's bad. That's not good.
A good thing
That's
at all.
Not good at all. No, and that was my thing. Like when all these people are fighting for it, I'm like, look, I get it. I always tell people, I'm like, I know you want 15, but look at it this way: if you get paid 15 an hour, everything in the store is going to go up in price because now they got to pay their employees more. So in the end, you're still making the same amount of money as what you were making before it went to $15 an hour. Because if I have to pay my employees 15 an hour, now I have to raise the price of my end product. Well, now your 15 goes back down to the 10 I was paying you before.
Right.
and like you're saying, I'm not going to hire somebody that doesn't know what they're doing because I have to pay them $15 an hour.
Yeah.
Now I think even me and Haley have talked about it because she runs Culver's, you know what I mean? So she hires, she fires, does the payroll, she does all that.
Right.
So, she's very aware of how that would affect that business. Now I think if you said, here, this is what we're going to do, we're going to raise minimum wage to $12 an hour, and or $10 an hour. I think 10 to 10.50 is a good rate. So we're going to raise it to 10.50, and anybody that's out of high school, we're going to raise it to 8.25. Maybe. So I feel like if you put an age on it, if you say,
what I was thinking is maybe a way to differentiate between corporations and small business, or the size of the business, or the revenue of the business. Maybe you could do it by revenue of the business.
Yeah, I mean,
and implement the minimum wage only because Amazons of the world, the Googles, the massive
Facebook,
massive companies, these massive corporations can easily afford to pay people $15 an hour.
Yeah, well, they're not hiring people that aren't skilled either. You know what I mean? Well, you know what I'm saying? Like they're everybody that they hire is going to be skilled. So by them paying that price, they're going to get what they're paying for.
Right.
So I mean that's
So, but yeah, it has to be. Small businesses have to be exempt from that, or less impacted.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where maybe on small bit you put I don't know, it's real hard, and what really gets me is like I'm not a politician, and like I said, I don't follow politics crazy, like I'm not like I don't just dive crazy deep into it, but when I look at the leaders in America now, it's like I don't know, I just feel like the focus is very much skewed in a very wrong
there
direction.
Is a big problem when it comes to like wages. I mean, wages have stayed the same.
They have.
For 40 years.
I think minimum wage should be
and
10.50. I just
there is a big issue here because I mean the working class is getting we're growing our wealth in the country. Everything's going up. GDP goes up every year.
Yeah.
Record highs.
Yeah.
Record highs every year.
Yeah.
And our economy is doing so well, but who's seeing the benefit of it?
Right.
Are the people actually seeing any benefit from all of that growth?
And that's the thing. I mean, is the middle class, because the middle class is what makes America. Mm-hmm. That's what builds America. And, obviously, in just my opinion. But, are they seeing any benefit when somebody gets on the news and says our GDP is the lowest it's ever been? Are they seeing any benefit? Like, am I seeing any benefit? Well, I don't know. I mean, I own a business. So for me, sometimes I see benefits, sometimes I don't. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I own a company, I pay myself, so it's very different. Yeah. It's not the same as if I go to work for somebody, and working for somebody. I think maybe you see a different type of benefit, but because I own a company, I have to market it myself and advertise it myself. Right. So if I don't put the hours in, I don't really see. Yeah. So it's really different for me. But I mean,
a growth in our economy is only helpful if you have a stake in that economy. And most people, if you're just a worker for a company, you don't have any ownership, you don't have any stake. If you're not invested in the stock market or whatever else, if you don't have ownership in the country,
which a majority of people don't.
This is why it's called the freedom dividend that Andrea is talking about, is because we're paying our taxes, we're contributing to society as being workers, and we just want our fair share of building America. It's the money that we already deserve.
Yeah, I think, and like I said, I mean, I haven't looked into it. I don't completely agree with it, but I'm not necessarily that I disagree. I think I'd have to do more search on it to really, be like, oh, this is my opinion's strong on this. But I think there's a lot of people in America that don't deserve $1,000 a month.
And there is. But it's, I think,
And I think for me, there's a very difficult thing. So I was raised in a work, you go to work, right? You know what I mean? You get up in the morning, go to work, you work for what you want. If you want something in life, go to work for it. I've always, that's my mentality, and, if you got to work 80 hours a week, you got to work 80 hours a week, got to work 3 jobs. It's just what you have to do.
Right.
But there's a lot of people who they don't. They live
Right.
off the state. They live off the federal food stamps and money because they're having 10 kids and whatever. And those people getting 1,000, I completely disagree with it. I think that you should go work. I mean, regardless.
Well, and
of,
that's another. See, this is why it's another reason why it's great to have it universal, is because right now people like that are incentivized to do something like that. People are incentivized to not get married because they would get less welfare if they were to get married, have more kids, be a single mom with 5-10 kids, because but so it's such a awful incentive, and then you're disincentivized to make any money. If you're making a low income job, minimum wage, for a lot of people, if they're also getting any sort of welfare program, food stamps or something, and you get an offer for a job that pays more, then if you make a little bit more, then you lose out your food stamps. You end up making less money total at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So then the incentive is just to stay exactly where you're at. So if you had an income floor, where you knew at least you're getting this money, regardless of where you go or how much money you make.
Yeah.
Then the incentive is to do better and to try to strive for more.
I'd have to listen. I'd have to hear how he, listen to him explain it.
Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that. Maybe I'll watch it tomorrow.
That's
I'll listen.
a great one to start with.
Because obviously he's going to explain. I'm now, that's what he's going to talk about it.
Right.
Like I said, I'm a real dude. I'm a very open person. Like
Right.
I mean, if it's smart, like because I can feel like something's not intelligent or it's not smart, but it is smart. I mean, in my brain, I can go, well, it's not a good idea. But it might be a good idea for the country. But for me, I might think, well, I don't like it. It's not a good idea for me.
Right.
But for the rest of the country, it may be good. Or for the rest of the world, it may be good. Or whatever the case may be. Like the wall. I think that it's a waste of money, to say, let's build a wall. I do believe we do need more. We need better immigration control. We do. I mean, absolutely. And I don't think that, necessarily Trump should be saying, oh, he's a racist. No, I mean, Obama said the same thing in his term. We need better immigration control.
I was thinking I just had a random thought. Yesterday, actually, I was like, why don't we just put like thousands of cameras? Just like make sure you have a visual on every spot of the border. Just put cameras.
I mean,
just have so many cameras that exactly if someone, and then just have people watching them or hire people to watch them or whatever.
I mean, there has to be,
and then have like helicopters or something that can go to any place on the border if there's people trying to cross.
I just feel like there has to be, like, I get it. I
be a lot less expensive than a
wall.
I
mean, like, look, I get it. I understand. Like, a lot of people go, well, the wall's just racist. It's not racist. I mean, there's a lot of countries that have walls. And look, I can't just go to Mexico. See, and people don't get that. Like, I can't just go to Mexico and just reap all their benefits. They'll kick me the fuck out. Like they're for real about immigration. They don't do that. Same with Canada. You can't just go to Germany. You can't go, you have to go through the proper steps.
Right.
I think when I look at the wall, I think, okay, sure, like you're going to build a wall. Like that, okay, whatever. I mean, I'm not necessarily like, oh God, it's a horrible thing. I think that they're just going to get around it. I mean, whatever they can just. They can go by sea
I've already
right
watched
around.
videos of people cutting through the wall.
Well, they can just go right on the California,
cutting through it,
right on the California side. I mean, Tijuana, they can just take a boat.
Take a boat over, but literally, I've seen videos of the walls being already built in some parts.
Yeah,
and it's like steel, concrete, blah blah blah. You can buy a saw for like $150 that can cut right through that wall.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of a lot of the drugs, just from what I know, a lot of them get flown over. I don't think people really
tunnels.
I don't think people realize how many.
There's hundreds and hundreds of tunnels.
Yeah, I mean the majority of drugs are probably being flown and then just dropped.
Yeah,
I mean really.
Right.
Like I think what I don't like is how much the wall costs. Like I don't like the 20 billion. Like that, I don't like that number because I think well 20 billion, we might be able to use it towards some other things. than the wall, but I do think we do need better I mean, we do. Like, listen.
Well,
I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're from. If you come here, like, just go through the proper steps. I'm fucking cool.
Well, that's the issue though, is because we don't have the proper steps. People can't do it that way.
Well, see,
that's one big issue, is that there's not a easy way for people to come here legally. That process is just too drawn out and too lengthy, and people have to wait a year. And if you're fleeing like a really bad situation and you can't turn back, like you're gonna go regardless.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But the other thing, this is I feel like is more of a, for most, it's an exception to one of, like, I'm like Tulsi Gabbard, or like no regime change wars, no, like, don't get, like, we should be very careful about where we're putting our military. But one place I actually think that we should actually launch a large scale military action is in Mexico. And I think that, because we have to look at Mexico and other South American problems, because what's happening is you have just like a month or two ago, I read about how the police had surrounded and captured a El Chapo's son.
Yeah.
And then got surrounded by the cartel and had to
let him go. Yeah, they just let him go. Yeah, and then the cop that actually originally got him, they murdered the cop that like originally arrested him. Yeah, he was found with like 150 gunshots to his body. Yeah, they killed him, and there was no obviously repercussion to that.
Right. So this is one of those situations where I think we should use our full military force to just completely take control of any drug cartels, like just completely obliterate them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with immigration, like, reform. Like, I don't disagree with figuring out a process that's not too difficult. Like, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with, like, hey, let's figure out a way where if it's, they come here through the proper channels, but it's not taking them 10 years or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's taking them whatever. They're able to get it done.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with that. I think that's totally agreeable. But if you, I mean, statistically, there is a lot of people who just cross, and they're not good. They're very, very bad. A very high percentage of that is bad people crossing.
Well, that's why we have to figure out, we have to go at why are so many people trying to get into our country?
I mean, obviously, there's a reason why, but a lot of people go, well, why can't we just, like, a lot of people want, like, well, we should be able just to let people in, but it's like, you see, you can't do that though. Like, you can't just, for number one, like, a big reason why you can't just, I mean, if you just let people come and there's no proper channels, we wouldn't be able to support that. I mean, people don't realize how full this country is. I mean, just to begin with, but and then other people talk about the jobs. Look, the jobs that these people are taking is a job I'm probably not going to do anyway. Like, right. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be completely honest. A job that somebody comes over here, say if they are illegal, which of course I'm not okay with, but whatever. Like, say they do come here illegally, they might be great people, and I might love them, but whatever. The job that they take, I'll be honest, 9 times out of 10.
And
I'm not going to do that job.
Or instead of taking a job like that, they start a business.
Yeah. And
it can be that can be add value to a community if then they employ people.
Yeah.
And it ends up like there's been people.
And here's my thing, if you're here illegally, but you pay taxes and you pay your dues living in this country, I don't give a shit if you're here illegally. I don't care.
Right.
But if you're here illegally, like, there's a lot, like, we worked, I can't like say the names, but we've worked at a few companies, and you're talking 90% is illegal. Yeah. But they get benefits, but they don't pay for them. That's not okay.
Right.
Because now I'm paying for those benefits.
Right.
So it's like, I'm cool. I don't give a shit who comes. I don't give a fuck. I don't care who comes.
Right.
I'm cool, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm totally cool with it. But pay your dues.
Right.
It's like, if you pay, I'm fucking cool. But, I think, I don't know the steps to getting and becoming, a legal citizen. I haven't done research on that. But I mean, look,
difficult, man.
But if if you can reform that, if you can,
make it easy process,
make it a little bit easier for people. But I can tell where they've made mistakes. So Haley worked with a gentleman who, he's not a legal citizen. I think he has his green card, but Culver's would sponsor him because he worked there, and I guess that like allowed him or something.
Yeah, sure.
But he had been here for like 20 years,
like a work type visa type.
But he'd been here 20 years, right?
Right.
Still, with a green card or whatever. Well, he married. He was gay or homosexual. I just say gay if I don't want to offend anybody, but he married. I don't know the guy's name. I don't want to say any names, but he married a gentleman who owned some stores or food shops, I guess I want to say, in Madison, and they deported him. He like just got deported. I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, and the guy that he married closed down the shops so that he could go with and live with him. I think they're in Canada now, but they were in Mexico. So I can see where there is some miscommunication. And I think what happened was, I think he got married, and he had been married for like 2 years or 3 years, no longer than that, maybe 5 or 6 years. And I think they said, I think they like brought his file up and go, well, he got married to become a U.S. citizen. I think and I'll be honest. I think they only looked at him because he married a man and not a woman. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if he would have married a woman, if just from me, I don't think they would have sat back and said, oh wait, he's just trying to become I don't think they would have, but I think because he married a man, they said, oh, he's just trying to become a U.S. citizen, so he married this man.
Right.
But it's not the way it was. Yeah. He actually is, he loves that man. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I can see where there's
I watched a story very similar where this guy, I mean, he's lived in this same town for, it was like a really long, it was like 30 years, 30, 40 years. And he started multiple businesses. He was employing over 60 people.
Right. Paid his shit.
He paid his shit. He was awesome. Like the community, then the town that he was in, like loved him. Yeah. And it was just like, and then they did it in such a bullshit way because like they had these trials, or they had like these dates that set up, and then they changed the dates on him, and basically like they told him he was going to be deported, and then basically said like took it back, said he wasn't going to be deported. So he had his plans, like he was like, all right, his family was going to go with him.
Well, right.
And then they said, oh no, it's all right. And then all of a sudden raided him. Like a few weeks later, actually just like showed up at his house and like arrested him.
See, and that I think that's where there's a gap when it comes to immigration. I think that's where there's this gap where you take somebody like the gentleman I was talking about who had been here 20 years. He's paying taxes. He's working. He's busting his ass. I've met him. He's a good guy. Right. He's got had a kid here.
We need to figure out how to keep the good ones in. Bad people who have I don't know. When it comes to people coming in, everyone in our country is we have bad people and good people.
We do.
We have when it comes to people doing bad things, like we just have to approach those bad things. It's hard to really tell.
Yeah. Well, I think
unless someone has a history of doing crimes, if they're coming into this country, you can't know if they're going to do good things here or do bad things
I think
here. You just have to enforce your laws.
Immigration's hard. I just think it's a difficult thing, and I think there's a lot of gaps in it. And I think that we need to fill the gaps, but I don't think we know how. I don't think we fully understand how to. And what I'm saying is, someone like me or someone like you might have a brilliant idea on how to fill a gap, but we're not a politician and we're not a leader, and our shit doesn't matter. But our leaders and our politicians and our people in office, they don't have a good understanding of how to fill these gaps. No. They're putting Band-Aids on things, and the Band-Aids aren't sticking.
Exactly.
And when you put a Band-Aid on it, it just makes it worse. You have to fix the problem. And I get it. A lot of people, there's a lot of stuff about, if you think that we need more immigration control, you're racist. And it's like, I'm not, but I do believe like we need to figure out a way to handle the immigration, just like every other country does.
Right.
I mean, there's certain countries you go to, you can never become a citizen. Actually, I think it's like is it like Hong Kong or somewhere over there? There's a country over
Japan,
there
I
that
think.
you can never become a citizen ever.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter
I think it's
what you do.
Japan.
And then I don't know if it's the Philippines, but there's another country where if you practice Christianity, they kick you out. You can't practice Christianity in that country.
Right.
So, I just, there's a huge gap in our immigration. There's a huge problem when it comes to people who want to come here legally. And then when it comes to people who are here illegally, but they're paying. Listen, if you're here illegally and you've been here 20 years and you paid your taxes all 20 years, just let them get citizenship. Give it to them.
Right.
Just say, okay, you're a citizen now. Because you've paid your dues. You've been here 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever.
Right.
But you're paying your dues. You're paying your taxes. You're doing what you need to do.
You're not committing crimes.
Right. You're not. You're not committing crimes.
You're a good person.
Right. Who gives a shit?
Become a citizen.
You're a citizen. You're good. Boom. You're
Exactly.
done.
Just
right.
make it easy.
Yeah. But instead, I get what they do. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's like that citizenship test. Like I've looked up like the test that you're supposed to take.
Really?
I don't even know some of the answers to the questions, and I'm a fucking U.S. citizen.
Right.
I've been here 30 years.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm
Exactly.
I'm looking at the question. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know the answer to that.
That's it.
And I've been here 30 years. You know, so there's a huge gap, and it's the same when it comes to.
I will say this though.
You know,
it honestly on prioritization and importance of issues, I actually would argue that it is pretty low on the problems that we have, like, and the like the problems that immigration causes, and you know, people, you know, coming here and getting benefits on our, and we're paying for their, you know, benefits or whatever else. I feel like actually when you look at our federal budget, is probably just it's minuscule. It's a minuscule amount of money that is being allocated to this. Like, we're spending, you know, over $700 billion on our defense budget.
Yeah,
that's
a huge
astronomical amount of money.
Yeah,
when if it's like a couple $1 billion that's being dealt with for this problem, yes, that's a problem. We have to solve it.
Yeah,
but it's like, is it really that, like, is it a pressing issue that we have to focus on? Like,
yeah, like
I kind of debate that. I feel like, you know, there's stuff I'd rather be focused on first. Like for me, the immigration thing, I really don't spend much time like thinking about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not in my house, you know, I'm not in my house going, oh, you know, what's
right.
So me personally, and look, I don't speak for everybody, but me personally, I have not been affected by anything that happens at the border.
Right.
Me personally. Some people have. I mean, there's been people that have had family members killed by MS-13 gang members that came here illegally.
Okay.
So they've been affected. I can see why they're upset.
Sure.
I haven't been affected. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, look, we're over, and it sounds mean to say it, but there's all these countries, and they fall into an issue, and they go, well, the U.S. needs to come over here and help us. Mm-hmm. And so we go over there, and it's like, I understand that it's like maybe it's really hard for me, and it sounds bad sometimes, but I just don't feel like we should have to be rebuilding all these places. No. Like, it's and the hardest thing is it's our money that's rebuilding it. It's not even the country's that country's money that's it's our money, because it's our military, it's our goods, it's our trucks, it's our gas. Like it's, and I'm going, why are we not back here like rebuilding? Like I have a really, really huge problem with how we treat our veterans. I have a huge issue with it.
Right.
Let's focus on that. Okay, screw immigration let's go focus on that. Let's help these people out. Let's allow them to get the help they need. Let's fix the homeless problem in California.
Right.
Like, let's fix the crime issues in Chicago. Let's help the inner cities. And listen,
we have so much to do here.
Here's another problem. Like Chicago. Everybody goes to Chicago, go to a bad side of town. It's crap. Okay, I get it. Some of the people there, they are crappy people. They're shitty people. They are. And they're committing crimes because, you know, maybe they're a bad person. Maybe they were raised wrong. Maybe they didn't have a father figure. There's a lot of different issues. Mm-hmm. But like, they just closed a school. This was like a year ago, I think. They closed a school in a impoverished area. Well, what that doesn't help.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're not helping that area.
Right.
And some people, I get it. You know, there's a lot of people who are like, well, screw those people. They don't want out anyway. that's not exactly. I mean, that's first of all, it's not a great attitude to have.
Right.
But it's sure there is some people that I'm sure live in those neighborhoods that don't give a shit about getting out. They're happy where they're at and they love being in a gang or whatever. But I would like to believe, and I do believe that a majority of those people want out.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
They
well,
you know.
I mean, think about it. Also, I mean, it's economic plays a huge role into it, because if being a part of a gang and selling drugs is like one of the only, like, you're growing up, you're in high school, and you see your older brother or you have a friend who's making bank doing something illegal.
Yeah.
And they're, getting away with it. They're buying something nice and they have money.
Yeah.
And your options are to go get a minimum wage job or get in with this gang. Like, what would you do? I mean, if you can make some real money, like, sure, why not?
And it's hard. And most of the people that listening go, "Why would you go get a minimum wage job?" But now go back. Not your life now, not the life you've lived. Now go back and say, okay, do the same scenario. You live in that area. You live in a impoverished area. Mm-hmm. Okay, no money. Single parent.
And there aren't
father,
good jobs.
No father figure.
Right.
No father figure.
Yeah.
Okay. You live with your mom. There's no jobs in that impoverished area.
Right.
And you can't get a job outside the impoverished area because
you don't have a car.
Well, not just that, but when you go, you don't have the right stuff. You can't present yourself correctly when you go to an interview, and you haven't had anybody your whole life there to teach you how to go to an interview.
Right.
Okay. Now, and your single mom, she's doing the best. She's working 5 jobs.
Right.
Okay. Now tell me, what is your choice going to be? See, and that's where now, like, I used to be pretty naive to all this stuff, like back, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I was super naive. Sure. I was like, no, we need to kick out this. Those people can. And look, I still am a little bit like, I believe you can still do whatever you want in America. I still do believe, like, hey, you live in America, you can do what you want. But I also believe that there's a lot of issues and certain places need help.
Right.
And I believe that when a child grows up and does not have a father figure, people don't realize how much that impacts a child's life when there's no father.
Right.
When there's no father. There's no father around to teach them. And the mom has to work in order to support the kid. And you're talking, I live in Janesville. We don't see a lot of crime. An apartment in Janesville, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, $675, $700. Mm-hmm. Okay. In a impoverished area in Chicago, a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, $900 probably, even in a impoverished area, because it's in Chicago.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's more expensive.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff, I think, and I don't feel like, I just don't, when it comes to Chicago or say New York or Milwaukee or any city, because every city has their areas,
Right.
Janesville, I'm not gonna lie, Janesville really, I guess, doesn't. Some people would say the 4th Ward, but that's not nothing, even. Yeah. That's you could walk around the middle of the night. There's gonna be no issues. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I used to be real naive. I still believe that go to work hard, and you'll get to where you want to be. But I think
there are success stories that come out of every community. It doesn't matter. Like, people that there are those one-off situations where people can go from
sometimes
rags to riches or whatever.
But sometimes you need a little. I feel like sometimes you need a little push, and that's not by me saying like, oh, you should take your money that you've earned and give it to these people. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the city helps.
Yeah.
That state or that city it helps that particular area. And some people go, well, they're not helping my area. They don't need to help your area. You live in a $150,000 house. Right. You're driving even if you're driving a Honda Civic or what, you know what I mean? You're okay. Like you're not, they need to help these certain areas. And that goes back to us being overseas, because instead of being over there and spending billions, we could be here.
Right.
We could be here fixing these areas, and people don't agree with me. A lot of times there's people that are just like, no, we don't agree with that. We don't agree that we should be putting all this money into these areas where people don't give a shit. And it's like, but have you ever met these people? I'll tell you something right now. I mean, I've been in bad areas in my life, and sometimes those are the nicest people in the world.
Right. Well, that's
so,
the thing. It's like,
I mean, you can't just by looking at somebody. Whew.
That's the thing. It's like all people are, we're all the exact same. We're all just like, doing our thing. There's good people, there's bad people, whatever. But like, it's just like, what's the system that they're in, and what are the incentives, and those are, if you tweak the incentives and what people are rewarded for and what people are not rewarded for, they'll trend towards that thing. And if we have a certain area, you have to tweak the system.
Well, you do, and you have to
change how things work at a macro level, or on higher levels, because it's not a group of people's faults. People are just being people.
Yeah.
And human behavior is the same across all.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Right. And it's people are so crazy with things that they say. They're like, well, those people choose to be there. Yeah, they're not choosing to be there. I mean, we can't twist everything up. If you grew up in a household where your dad was making $1 million a year, and you had a dad, and then you go to somebody who had no father, never saw his mom because she had to work to pay the bills. Not that she didn't want to be there, but she had to work to pay the bills, and there's 3 kids at home. There's a big difference. And then when you go into that area and you go, wow, the city has put $0 back into this area. Mm-hmm. There's no businesses. The houses are shit. There's no schools.
And
listen, if these kids, these kids that are in a bad area, when there's a school in that area that gets closed, a lot of times they can't go to a school outside that area. Either the school doesn't accept them, or they don't have the money to go to that school.
Right.
So now what does this child do? Well, this child turns to what he knows in that area, which most of the time is the streets, or however their slang goes.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then it becomes a downhill spiral of a lifelong problem.
Exactly.
But instead, we go, well, let's worry about this country. We got to worry about this other country, that the buildings. And it's like, I hope those people do good in life too, in this other country. And I get that it's impoverished and living in dirt houses, but we have a country that we have to worry about.
Yeah, we can't be. I mean, so
I think to an extent, maybe. But
I think a lot of what we do, most of what we do, I think, on the world stage and other countries comes down to power.
Yeah.
I could
agree. It's a marketing tool.
I don't think that the reason we spend as much money as we do in helping other countries, I question whether that has anything to do with the moral aspect of helping those people.
Yeah, I think that
because there's atrocities that we embrace. Like right now, Saudi Arabia is just committing genocides in Yemen, a country to the south of Saudi Arabia, and we're funding that. We give them weapons to do it. Like, we don't care. We don't care what we're funding. If it's atrocities that's being committed, there's no moral judgment. It's just about power. So we're fun. We put money into a place so that they owe us, or so that we can have control over their resources, or that we have influence over the region. I mean,
and look, like Tulsi Gabbard, she said, she said, a lot of times people think we're over there just creating war and we're battling. She goes, but a lot of times we're over there and we're actually not even at war, but we're, and I think that all of the veterans and the Marines and the Army and the people that are currently over there and that have been over there, I think when they're over there rebuilding, they do believe, and obviously that they're like, we're doing something good. And but I think that, like what you're saying, when it actually comes down to the actual politics of it, it's just the U.S. saying, listen, we rebuilt your shit. Mm-hmm. You are forever indebted to us, forever. And I do believe that, but like I said before, there's so many problems. There's so many problems in America.
And we shouldn't be focused on other countries. We shouldn't be focused. We have to take a step back.
Yeah.
And we have to accept the fact that maybe we won't, we don't have to be the #1 world power. We don't have to be we should actually focus on just competing with ourselves and trying to make our own country better.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
You know,
It's
the
tricky.
strongest people are silent. And here's my thing: we can have the strongest army, but just not do what we're doing. But we can still have the
Right.
strongest military,
Right.
Absolutely. But we don't have to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
We can be here in America going, here, let's focus on our health care and let's focus on.
Yeah.
But instead, it's all you ever hear is, well, we have to go over here and do
Yeah.
this. And it's like, well, what about America? What about all the homeless people
And
in California? What about the drug problem? What about?
I think the reason why is because the U.S. economy is so dependent on oil and
yeah.
oil being traded on the U.S. dollar. So the U.S.
Okay.
currency, the U.S. dollar, only holds its one of the big reasons it holds its value is because of oil that's like the currency that's used to trade oil in the world.
Yeah, I could see that. Now, if you didn't have oil,
if you didn't have oil, and a lot of like I think pretty much all the only reasons we are in any wars in the Middle East is for oil. Like
yeah, I believe I don't know. There's so much here, and I'm always complaining about it. I'm like,
Right.
why are we not
Right.
helping the veterans? Why are we not? And I think when I say helping the homeless, I'm not like that we should give them money or whatever, but maybe there's some way that we can
Yeah.
help them. I don't know off the top of my head, whatever, but there's some way. And like
Well,
in the
it's a
drug
big drug
problem,
exactly. It's
you
the
know.
drugs, like homelessness, especially like on the West Coast. There, it's more of a drug problem than it is a housing issue.
It's bad. And then there's the diseases because
I think
there's
this
no,
actually ties into everything we were talking about as far as immigration, as far as all of it. I mean, I honestly think that legalizing all substances for personal use would be really powerful. I think because right now punitive action and fighting it hasn't worked at all. And the effects of having people who can make so much money underground and in black markets and through gangs, the only where's the power of a gang come from but drug money?
I mean, I
drug
think
money fuels it all.
So I think
you have to
weapons
take
and
that
drugs,
money away.
Yeah.
You have to take the money. Everything comes down to money.
Well, everything is money.
And if you take the black market away, if you say all drugs are decriminalized, you can use them for personal use, and there's going to be safe places where you can get those drugs. Because the other issue is the number of people who are dying from this.
I mean, I
had an uncle who OD'd, and it's because he didn't know exactly what was in what he was.
I mean,
using.
obviously, it's heroin's being laced with fentanyl, and fentanyl is super strong. I think that there's I don't know. I mean, I disagree with the legalization of everything. I think cannabis should be.
You can't sell it. See, that's the thing. You can decriminalize it and make it okay for personal use, right? Because people are already using it. Making it illegal hasn't stopped anyone from doing anything.
Yeah, I think.
And then
I don't know.
But if you sell it, that is a huge issue.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's I think it's like a little bit. So like if you take cannabis, I'm just going to take cannabis for instance, because so cannabis is legal in Colorado. I think it's legal in Oregon, Seattle, California, and I think like Massachusetts or somewhere over on I think there's a couple East Coast cities and stuff that have it legalized.
States or something. Like that.
So if you take Colorado, Colorado legalized cannabis. Well, there's still a huge black market for cannabis, even in Colorado, in the legal areas where you can legally buy cannabis. There's still a huge black market, and I think that if you legalized all drugs, I think there would still be a black market. It may not be as large, but there's still going to be a fairly large black market. And I think so. For me, I think that cannabis, I think like mushrooms, maybe even like an LSD. I think certain drugs definitely should be legalized, decriminalized, because I think that I think so. I haven't done mushrooms, I haven't done LSD, but from research and actual real research is that it's not bad for you if you do it in a controlled environment with that.
And it can have profound effects for
yes.
people.
I mean, there's
extremely positive, long-term.
There's a ton of people who actually
effects.
know more when they come off of a trip, you know. So, but when it comes to like heroin, methamphetamines, which methamphetamine is Adderall. That's methamphetamine.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that, but that's Ritalin,
same thing.
speed. It's it's the same thing. I think like cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, Oxycontin. I think that these things, I don't necessarily think you should decriminalize them, but I think there's a way. I don't know, you know, because it's not like I sit here on a daily basis and I'm thinking about it. But if I really sat down, you know, maybe I think the people could come up with a good solution to maybe helping the problem. But I think there's always going to be an issue, and it's the same with guns. You know, there's always going to be shootings. There's always going to be this. And there's always going to be that. There's always going to be something. But I think
there's to figure out what are the best ways to mitigate those things.
And I think
and so I mean, other countries have tried it. I think is I want to say Argentina. I'm not 100% on that, but I think Argentina legalized all drugs or decriminalized. There was a 80% reduction in overdoses.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not. It's hard because you can say no, you could say yeah, but you don't actually know unless you do it. That's the hard part about the whole about anything, you know. So
and the thing is, what we're doing now isn't working.
Yeah, I just don't think we've.
So we have to do something different.
I don't even think we focus on it enough.
No, we don't. It's all over.
Well, it's a huge issue, and I just think that we're so focused on in my opinion, dumb shit that is like, come on, like why are we, you know, why are we and I'll admit, it's not even because I own guns or because I believe in the second, but there's so much focus on guns, and it's very hard for me because I understand when they say, well, if you don't have that gun, there won't be a mass shooting. Yeah, that's incorrect. But like when they talk about AR-15s, well, for number one, the military has never used AR-15s, and this is the issue that people have. The military has never, ever in the history of the military used an AR-15 firearm. That stands for Armalite rifle, for anybody who doesn't know. Not assault rifle. And it shoots it shoots a 5.56 round but here's the thing, that round is not even the only thing that it does is it'll go a little farther, it'll go a little faster. So I own a 9mm. I could do more damage with my 9mm. I mean, my 9mm round for the most part is bigger than the AR-15 round.
Right.
And they go, well, it's a semi-automatic rifle. My handgun is, for anybody who doesn't know, a semi-automatic is as fast as you can pull the trigger, a round will come out of that chamber.
Right.
So an automatic rifle is you hold the trigger down and it'll just keep on firing until you release the trigger. So on a semi-automatic, if you pull the trigger, it shoots, you let go, it won't shoot. So they go, well, we need to ban AR-15s because they're a problem. They're an issue. Well, they're not an issue. The firearms, for the most part, if you look at most of the cities or states that have more firearms, there's less crime and there's actually less shootings when you look at those states or you look at those cities. A lot, like if you look at Chicago, they have some of the strongest gun laws in the country. Illinois, I'm sorry, not Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah.
And they have the highest gun crime in the country. So you have to think about it. You go, okay, so they have the strictest laws on even owning a firearm, to even own one, and they have the highest rate of crime.
Yeah, because the laws don't work.
Right, the laws don't work. So a lot of people go, and for me, it's hard because I go, when you look at the U.S. and if you look up statistics, more people die from hammers than they do guns. And the majority of people that do die from guns is from suicide, not from mass shootings. Not from people killing 20, 30 people at a time. It's from people actually committing suicide with a firearm. But there's more people that die from hammers. And I always tell people, look, a lot of times it comes down to maybe a mental disability, you know, in a person. they're not mentally stable.
Right.
Because I own a firearm. My firearm,
I think,
has never shot. Like, I carry mine and I carry it
Right.
loaded. So it means there's one in the chamber. So if
Right.
that trigger gets pulled, it will fire. And I've never. It's a tool, is what it is. It's the same thing as a hammer and a drill.
I think we do have to figure out how do we, because if someone is maybe they're not mentally stable, but we do have to look at how do we mitigate the effect that person can do, and how do we make it more difficult for that person to, if they're going to use a weapon to kill as many people as they can, how do we make it more difficult for that person to get a more lethal and more effective weapon?
Yeah.
So I get that, because you can't, there's no like magic bullet to bullet.
Yeah.
There's no magic bullet that's going to fix this issue.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, see, if let's say they said, well, you know what, we'll make guns illegal. Let's just say you would see, and this is me because I follow this pretty close because I own a firearm, so those laws would affect me.
Right.
So if you made them illegal, you would see the same amount of crime. You would. They would just find a different tool to use to commit that crime.
And it's not like it matters anyway, because there's millions and millions of weapons in our country.
People aren't going to turn them in.
You could say full stop, no more sale of guns. Guns are illegal, and that wouldn't change anything because there's still millions. Everyone has guns. There's too many guns to begin with,
and then it comes
down to no way you can actually control that.
Well, yeah, and then it comes down to background checks. They go, well, so you can't look at people's medical records. For number one, that is like, I mean, I get it, but that's just the most invasive thing that I've ever heard. That is, I don't want people looking at my medical records.
But you just brought up the mental stability aspect of it.
I did, and
so that has to be a part of it.
I know, and I think that's where, when I talk to people, they do get a little confused, because I talk about mental illness, but I have mental illness, so I suffer from depression and anxiety and panic. So when I think about it, and I think, if I go to purchase a firearm and they tell me I can't because I have depression, that's for me, when I talk about mental illness, I talk about, I'm not talking about anxiety. I'm not talking about panic. I'm not talking about depression. I'm talking about, those are serious mental illnesses, but I'm talking about someone who's maybe schizophrenic or, and is not on medication, because that type of mental illness, they're not necessarily in their right mind.
Yeah. It's very difficult because, I mean, you look at who shooters are, and it's not like they are severely mentally unstable most of the time.
Yeah, no,
so,
I'm not saying it's a mental illness, and I'm not saying
it's a tricky issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it's 100% mental illness that some of these people
I think I would say making it more like not making it illegal to own any type of firearm, because people are going to get those firearms if they really wanted to, or for
well, there's a reason.
But making it, you can make it a lot more rigorous and a lot more difficult process, and to get incorporate classes or whatever to get more lethal weapons. Like the more lethal the weapon, like assault rifles, AR-15s, whatever.
Well, you can't own an assault rifle in America. They're illegal.
All like an automatic.
Yeah, you can't. It's illegal.
Right.
Yeah, you can't own that.
So, but like you can, whatever. What is it? Like the bump stocks that basically turn a.
Those are illegal.
Now they are, right?
Yeah, they weren't before, but they're illegal now. Yeah, you can't own them.
But
there's really no assault rifle in America.
Yeah,
there isn't. And any gun that you get, it's really, when you talk about, like, for instance, like, more rigorous classes for something lethal, there's really not I mean, sure, you go out and buy a 45. It's got a bigger bullet, actual bullet. Not the whole round is bigger, but the bullet itself is actually bigger. Most of it's gunpowder, so it has a bigger bullet than a 9mm. But it's not necessarily more lethal. Like, it's about how many rounds can you shoot, how many rounds are held in the magazine, and how many rounds can you shoot in a short period of time, and how far can they go? Because it's not, I mean, every gun is going to do the same thing. But if you decide to go to a really populated area and kill as many people as you can, how do we make sure that at least if someone decides to do that, that their easiest option is to get a handgun, and they're limited to a handgun where at least that is mitigated slightly? Yeah, I think there's so for me, a lot of people, and they don't even know. So the Second Amendment is based around a tyrannical government. I don't think a lot of people even know that. People think it's about hunting and this and that.
Oh no.
So it's not.
It's about
the reason that it was
a militia.
Right. The reason it was produced, the reason that it was written, the reason it was signed is so that the government could never overtake the people.
Right.
So for instance, and I always go back to this. So if the government says you can only have 10 rounds in that magazine, but the government can have 50. That's, for me, I go, whoa, no, that can't happen. Because now what happens is if there was ever a moment in time, if there was ever a moment in time where the government said, we're going to introduce things, and they were overtaking the people, if those laws apply to they have to apply everywhere.
But you also have to look at it as, you have to consider reality, which is that if the government wants to do so, if there were a tyrannical government,
I get it. They got drones and planes and all kinds of stuff.
It's not even going to come down to fights, and now in today's modern society, having control over the zeros and ones of your bank account.
Well, yeah,
people, they can, this is because think about when the Second Amendment was written.
Oh,
the capability of firearms was, you could fire one round, and then it took you like 30 seconds to load another one into a rifle.
I mean, roughly probably was, I've never fired one of those rifles, so I don't actually know how long it takes. But 30 seconds, I would guess, if you're quick.
So that is, when that was the extent of the technology, and that was like power, when that was true power, when a musket that could fire a weapon once every 30 seconds was true power in a militia.
Yeah.
Then having that power for the people could fight a tyrannical government. But now I feel like that's really a moot point at this point. Even if we have all the guns we want, we really don't have a power. I mean,
sure, they have planes and drones, but there is even with all the planes. So when it comes to tyrannical government, they want control. So this is where it comes down to, like, what you were saying. A lot of people say, well, it wouldn't be a fight. Well, it would be a fight. Because here's the problem. Let's just say the government said, you know what? We want to overtake the people. So we want full control. We want bedtimes. They can't come out at certain times, all this stuff. They're not going to kill. See, they're not going to go out and just blow everybody up, because the whole point of them being tyrannical is to have control. So there would be a fight.
Sure.
And that's where for me it's like, well, there's going to be a fight. Well, not that there's going to be, but I'm saying, like, if that ever happened, there would be, because they're like, they want that control. And in order to get that control, well, and so I think, and I think that when you look at the mass shootings, and a lot of people don't look at real statistics, they just see what's on CNN, they see what's on Fox, they see what's on MSNBC and all these other things. But if you look at statistics, there's the amount of people that die from firearms and the amount of actual mass shootings is not as what if you look at the mass shootings, they'll say 100. Well, a mass shooting is someone who's killed more than one person.
Right.
So if somebody went out and killed 2 people, that's a mass shooting. It's not a mass shooting. Okay. So puts into that classification. but there's more people that are being killed with knives, with hammers, with screwdrivers.
And like handguns.
Yeah, so there's a lot. And if you look, at these countries,
a lot of people are dying.
Well, yeah, and if you look at these other countries, like if you look at countries over in Europe, these countries that have banned guns.
You have to. So here's the distinction, though, is because everywhere else people are dying from that situation. Where everywhere else where people are dying from lethal weapons or everything like that is in a situation where they're exposed to that thing for the most part. Whereas these mass shootings are in places that are typically considered safe. You're not putting yourself into an environment where there's any, assumption that you're going to be dealing with any of these weapons or, you're not in an alleyway getting mugged. You're just going out to a festival, or you're going to a movie, or you're in the mall shopping. Like, that's the distinction of why, between the statistics of how many people are dying and this problem of mass shootings being a real problem, because
but it's not. It's so hard.
We want to feel safe when we go out.
I think
and do things.
Yeah. So, it's just crazy because there's
having the possibility that this can happen, even if it's really small compared to how many people die from other things. The possibility that it could happen in any place that you go, that's the big issue. And if it happens, we want to make it as small of an issue as possible and mitigate that risk as much as possible.
And I think that's where it's it's raining. I think that's where it's so crazy to me. So, I think with guns, I'm very strong. I'm just, I'm very pro gun. I think that
I don't think guns shouldn't be illegal.
No.
Sure. I mean, people should be able to have guns.
I'm totally, and this is where I'm just an open person. If somebody doesn't agree with guns and say they come to my house, I have no problem. I can take the magazine out, take the round out, put the gun away in a safe. I have no issue. It doesn't bother me. If I go to somewhere and they're like, look, we don't want you to have a firearm, that's fine. Well, most of the time, I conceal carry, so it's not
right.
But for me, and this is just me. Like if I was in Walmart and because even if you made them illegal, it's just like drugs. It's the same. It's the same thing. People are still going to get them, so there's still going to be shootings even if you made them illegal.
Exactly.
But now they're going to be able to go shoot somewhere up that nobody else has a gun. So for instance, for me, if I'm in Walmart, somebody comes in shooting, I can use my firearm to protect the people around me. Now that's me, but I'm obviously a sane person. I understand. I know the laws. But I will say the one thing about guns is there's too many people that have guns that are, there's too many people that have guns that are either uneducated on how to use them. So I took my concealed carry class in the state of Wisconsin. There was 5% of that class knew how to handle a firearm. Mm-hmm. I had already known how to handle one because I grew up around, firearms and stuff. So, but these people, you go and you take an hour class and you get your concealed carry license. Now you can conceal carry a firearm. Okay.
Yeah.
With most of these people, they didn't know what they were doing. I do think that in order to get a not just to own one, but to conceal carry it or to carry the firearm, I think you should have to take classes.
Right.
Now that's me. I would have still took classes even though I knew how to handle it. You know what I mean? I think Texas does it. I think you got to have 6 hours of shooting time with an instructor before you can conceal carry. And I think Florida might do it too. I can't remember.
I like, coming back to my guy again, but Andrew Yang talks about personalizing guns and making it. It's not fingerprints, but it's like you can make a gun based on the weight of your hand and how you hold it. Basically, it's personalized to you, so that only you can fire it.
That's some future stuff there. So to come to that, so in Wisconsin, you don't have to. I can own a firearm. And I don't have to register it, so I'm not for the whole registry thing. I don't believe that I should have to register my firearms with the government. If I buy it from a store, I 100% agree with that. I will say that there's a little bit of a if I can go buy a gun from John. I don't have to tell the government. I don't have to do anything. I can buy it from him, bring it home, put rounds in it, fire the gun. That's just because I'm very pro firearm. I'm very pro.
Right.
I'm very pro
Yeah.
what my Constitution says. But that's an interesting. I mean, that's some futuristic stuff.
Yeah. Well, the technology is already there. It's already capable.
Well, yeah, I mean, people
it just
can make
cost a couple $100 to change your gun.
I mean,
to be personalized.
That's an interesting thing. I don't.
So only you can fire it. At least
I mean, I don't agree with it being a law. Like it has to be that. But if that was an option, it would be neat. Just that I can base it on how I want my gun to fire in my hand. And I mean, it's a cool feature.
I think that's the way Yang proposes it is like basically if you want it done, we'll pay for it. Like government will pay to do it.
I mean, it's an
you
interesting.
You can bring in your gun. You can have it outfitted, personalized to you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people. Yeah, I think a lot of people would want to do that.
Yeah. I think there's a big misconception. I mean, there's people who they go, we don't like guns. They're so bad, and then they go out and they fire it, but they fire it correctly, and they go, okay, it's not as dangerous as what we thought it was, because people think that guns are just the gun is killing people. You know what I mean? It's like, well, sure. I mean, the bullet is, but if you hammer yourself in the fucking head, you're gonna die. So it's a tool. It's a tool, just like everything else.
Exactly.
And I think that when people know how to use it, they don't have such a misconception. But I don't know how to completely fix the gun problem with people that go out and shoot people. I think maybe they're somewhat mental, but it is tough because it's unfair to say if you have depression or you can't own a firearm, because there's a lot of people who suffer from it, but there's no suicidal thoughts. There's no, I want to go murder somebody. So I think that it's said that's a very difficult and touchy issue because there's so much. I mean, it's like, if somebody suffered from depression in say 1999 and they were in the hospital for a month, but now in 2019, they own a business, they're happy, they got 3 kids, but they'll never, ever in their life ever be able to own a firearm because of what happened in 1999. It's such an unfair thing.
Sure.
So I think that it's so touchy and I think that's why it's so touchy, because it's like, well, what
and this is why, why things are nothing's getting done is because we have this left and right dichotomy, and all the issues that people are talking about and caring about are issues that are so gray and complex that there is no right answer.
Yeah.
And so we keep fighting about things that we don't have a good answer to, and you just get pushed to the extremes, but nothing actually gets done because we have to be. I think we should really just be focusing on things that you can get done. That make sense.
Yeah, that you can make happen. Like I said, I'll go back to helping the areas that I think need help. I just think that's such a. I just think it's such a huge problem.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can go and be on Space Force.
Right.
We could join that and go to space.
Yeah.
That's
we should be excited. Yeah. Like.
Well, no, I'm just making joke on Trump. The whole Space Force thing.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea.
I think that's what it's called. I don't know.
Yeah. We have the Air Force, and now space is going to be more and more of a thing. Actually, that's one thing I thought.
Space is.
We should have a Space Force.
I love space. I'm like, I mean, I don't know if I ever want to go. Like, I'm afraid of it right now. Like, I don't want to go there. But I fucking love space. Space is such an interesting thing.
It is not made for, I mean, obviously, it's not made for humans.
Well, I think it's so crazy because I think people go, well, I'm a little out there when it comes to what I think. So I believe that there's 100 other me's or 1,000 other me's on 100 or 1,000 other Earths in all these different galaxies.
Multiverse, other worlds theory.
And I think that the reason I say this is because a lot of people, they have deja vu, and I think the deja vu is real because these other people they're living the same life as you, but they're either living ahead of you or behind you. And I think that this is just me. This is my theory, and people listening are probably like, "This dude's fucking crazy," but that's just what I think. That's how I believe it, because there's no way that this is the only Earth and the only habitable planet that has humans or animals or living things on it. There's no way. There's just no way. I mean, maybe in our galaxy, sure, I don't know, but there's just in all of space, no way.
But you think that it's because all right, you have your universe, and yes, like of course there's other worlds that are going to have other life somewhere else in the universe. There's no way we're the only
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
But that's separate from what you said about like there being hundreds and thousands of yous and a multiverse.
Yeah, it's a weird.
It's parallel universes.
Yeah,
like,
I do.
It's the same universe, but,
right.
but like copies of that universe.
Yeah, I just believe that space is. I believe it's endless.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's just like an endless. It's just endless, and there's there's never a moment where you're going to be able to explore 100% of space.
Yeah,
I just believe it's endless.
It's always expanding. So
yeah, and I just believe we're just like this tiny thing, and a lot of But, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, that's as crazy as flat earthers.
No, it isn't at all, because the multiverse theory is that's a solid theory for answering some of the questions that we're currently making in modern science. It's because there's this big issue between classical physics and quantum physics that works on the macro level, and physics that works on the very, very minute, like how things work inside of or how an electron behaves.
Yeah.
We have a good idea of how things work on the macro level, classical.
Yeah.
And we have a good idea of how things work, and we have theories that make sense and that can be proven and experimented with, but we don't have a theory that works for everything all the time.
Yeah.
And one of the answers that would make a theory work is if there are multiple universes.
Well, are you a Christian? Are you
No,
like any type of religion?
Not at all. No. And
do you believe like we're I don't know how to put it. Like you don't believe that like one person made us, right? Are you more in belief that we were created by like I don't know how to word it.
Well,
like you don't.
I definitely don't believe that a single entity created us.
Do you believe in God?
I believe in
something.
What there's, because that's the word God is very difficult because there's not one meaning for it. So I have beliefs that could be similar to what you could call
just a higher power.
Like I believe that there is a collective consciousness of where the electrons in our brains are entangled with the electrons throughout the entire universe, and everything is connected in subtle ways. And so basically the idea of God or everything or an entity that like a single entity, I don't believe at all, like one individual entity. But I believe that what could be construed as a concept of God is this oneness and of the entire universe.
Okay. That's interesting. So I grew up Christian, going to church, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's and for anybody who's Christian that is listening or could listen, hey, if whatever you believe in is whatever you believe in. That's cool. I'm not. But for me, I grew up a Christian, but my whole, there's so many questions. Like when you, for number one, you're the Bible, right? You take the Bible. Okay. It's written by man now.
Right.
Okay. And I believe that when you read it, if you read that Bible and you read the whole thing, certain parts contradict certain parts of that particular Bible. And for number one, God didn't write that Bible because he didn't write in English. I mean, if there is a God,
right.
You know what I mean?
That's the thing.
And there's you can't go and actually see what he wrote on. So it's very difficult because I could have pulled something and said, this is
all
written
text that is written by other humans.
Yeah, so it's it's difficult, and when you ask somebody who follows that religion, a lot of times you can't get the answers. Right. So it is difficult. I've believed in God my whole life, and it's I think so. Like Haley doesn't, she believes in just a higher power. Mm-hmm. There's some higher spirit of something. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily believe in God. I don't know how. I believe there's something. Do I believe that we were created by Adam and Eve? Which here's another. And this is where it starts to contradict. The Bible says homosexuality is a sin. Incest is a sin. But Adam and Eve were brother and sister. And Adam and Eve had sex. They had babies. Those babies had sex, and those babies had babies. That is all incest. Okay.
Right.
And in the Bible, it says we're all brothers and sisters. So, for instance, I'm your brother. You know, not Dan. Like, we're all brothers.
Right.
Haley's your sister.
Right.
Sam is your sister. So technically, you are having sexual relations with your sister, which in turn would be an incest.
You take any religion, you take any text, whether it's the Bible, the Quran, like every. See, the thing is, I reflected on this not too long ago, a few weeks ago, because I went to church with my grandma.
Okay.
She's very Christian. She's very religious. She has, the way she puts it, she has a relationship with Jesus, and I realized that all the details. You take all of the details from all religious texts. All of it is written by other humans. Just throw all the details away.
Yeah. Okay.
And but you can take away from religion, from Christianity, there are actually some really powerful, positive things that you can take out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any detail, any fact you want to assign to anything,
absolutely,
just forget all of the facts.
Yeah.
But you can still get a message. You can still get a lesson out of a story without believing that the story is true. I was thinking about it, and there's a few things that are super powerful about religion. And the first is that when you have a shared mythology, when you believe something and you know that this other person believes that thing as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the thing is. But if you both believe the same thing, you instantly trust that person. There's no walls. There's no barriers to break down.
It's very true.
You can cooperate with that person. You go, you go to church in the morning, and these are all strangers, but you're like, oh, hi.
Everybody loves each other.
Everybody's all nice and happy. And there's no, barriers to break down.
Yeah.
And that is huge, because I was reading the book Sapiens. Have you heard of this book? Sapiens?
No.
A Brief History of Humankind. It's amazing. No. It talks about the origins of humanity. And
is it on audio?
Yeah.
I should look it up. Maybe I'll look it up.
Sapiens by Yuval Harari.
I can't read. I can't read, but audio.
That's what I
can listen to audio.
I usually listen to. But it talked about how when we were the transition from when we're in a tribe as humans, when we get past about 150 people in a tribe, somewhere around that number of people, eventually that tribe will split off into two tribes.
Oh, you know what? I heard this somewhere. Heard this someone was saying this exact thing. They must.
Yeah.
Who wrote it?
Is this guy Yuval Harari? But Sapiens is the book.
God, I heard it somewhere where it said that if once it like that 150, it's really like splits off and it creates.
Unless there is a shared mythology.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If there's a shared mythology, then more than 150 people can cooperate together under one group.
Interesting.
So that's why I think that so many religions exist in the world, is because without religions is a shared mythology that can get people to cooperate with each other. Now that can be used as a tool to manipulate people as well. So it has some very, very bad effects. But the power of it is that you can get so many people to trust each other and cooperate with each other without breaking off into separate groups that fight each other.
That is very interesting.
And then I was thinking about it too. Then you have the just coming together once a week with a community of people. That sense of community you get from that. I mean, you go there and you're just like, you're just talking to people, you're hanging out with,
Yeah.
So, that I think is just powerful to give you a trust in your community and just be happy to be, know other people in the place that you live. And then the idea of prayer. Mm-hmm. So prayer, it really is just in putting your intentions, solidifying your intentions, and visualizing, what you want or what you would hope would happen.
Yeah, that's
just a powerful thing to do for yourself. But you can assign whatever, particular what you think might be happening when you're praying to whatever you want to be praying to.
Whoever you're praying
but
to.
The act of praying is really just like, solidifying your intentions, which is a super powerful thing.
That's interesting. That is interesting. This has been very interesting.
It has.
This has been good for anybody listening. Sam Gulotta, Jesus.
I'm glad we really covered the gambit.
Yeah. It was good. It was good. It was super enjoyable. That was great. I'm definitely gonna have you come back at some point in time.
Sounds great. Yeah.
And talk some more. Yeah.
All right, let's call it. Yeah, this was awesome. Sam
Gulotta. I don't know what his social medias are, or what if he's got anything that he wants to follow. Go look at what company do you work for?
Sunrun is the company.
Sunrun. There you go. Check them out. Check them out. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
This has been fun.
It has, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.